Hello, fam. We are live right here on Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys joining me. Welcome to Wednesday's show. Today on the show, we have Nick Kelly of the Tuscaloosa News. He'll be joining us at 9 a.m. Central Time. We also have Tai Hayes from Around the Table Sports. On the evening tip, we have Coach Sean and Coach Merrill. That's all coming up for you today right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Let everybody get checked into the show. If you guys could help me get over 100 thumbs up on this video, I'd really appreciate it. If you guys are interested to become a fan funder, as low as $2.99, just hit the hyperlink above this video. We really appreciate you guys. Good morning, Roll Tide Patty. Wait for everybody to get checked in the show, and then we'll get things going right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Today is Wednesday. I can't believe it is already May 15th. And I think, I had my workout today, and I actually led the workout here in Tuscaloosa. It was actually at the Capstone. And the Capstone is right by, if you've ever been to Alabama, it's right off Paul Bear Bryant where the Arby's is. It's where the band practices, right? What's up, Pretty Brown Eyes, D.W. Campbell, K. Will, what's up? I appreciate you guys doing it. If you guys, like I said, if you guys want to be fan funders of this YouTube channel, I appreciate you guys and all your support. Honestly, it really helps drive the channel. So here is the hyperlink inside the comment box. Those $2.99. So I led the workout group, and I always talk about the workout group because it's F3, Fitness, Fellowship, and Faith. And when you have the opportunity, it's a free workout here in Tuscaloosa. So if you're in Tuscaloosa and you want to come put in some work, I lead a lot of the workouts. And today, the message was basically about the gratitude for the people that you have around yourself, right? That are pushing you to be a better person, I call this like on the field where we work, but also in life. So it's always good to step back and to have gratitude for those type of things, those people in your corner. And I love having the men around me in the mornings to get the day started off right. I love starting off the morning with the workout. I think it kind of puts you in the right psychological disposition to get things going, right? To achieve at a very high level. As I've mentioned many times, I have my kids full time. So I get back, make them breakfast, get them out the door, and seeing a lot of growth from myself because of this workout group. And, I have to kind of pat myself on the back a little bit because, the last couple of years have been really challenging for me. Those of that have followed kind of my journey, know a lot of the bits and pieces because my life is on YouTube. You guys do see it. So, here we are, here we stand, and we have a lot of momentum going into the summertime. What's up, Adam Lompello? I see you. Good morning, LA Patriot Life. Good morning, K. Will. Once again, C-Bama, thank you so much for being inside the comment box. What I like to do on the show is kind of for the first 30 minutes, and the call-in line is open. So if you want to call in and chat with me and kind of get a little bit of this positive energy, hit me up, 205-850-1994. But what I always like to do is kind of open the show to you guys and have you put the topics inside the comment box, what you want to talk about. I will certainly give you my take on those topics, but we can also talk about those topics kind of as they are relevant to the day in order. And once again, if you guys are just checking in, please hit thumbs up. And there's a link on here if you want to become a fan funder of the YouTube channel, $2.99. Of course, super chats are, of course, appreciated. David, good morning to you. And we do have Nick Kelly of the Tuscaloosa News joining us at 9 a.m. And then at 9:30, we have Tai Hayes from Around the Table Sports. Tonight, you got Coach Merrill. And then you also have Coach Sean as well. Patriot Life in with 5 fan funderships. We appreciate it, for your continued support to help us build this community right here with the Undefeated on Bama Football on YouTube. Good morning, James Cloud. I see you inside the comment box. Steven, what's up, man? Appreciate you being here and everybody for joining us. So the topics that we will discuss with Nick Kelly of the Tuscaloosa News here at 9 a.m. will be we'll hit on a couple different things. I want to get his take on the transfer now, the transfer portal now that Alabama has their transfer class. I want to talk to him specifically about Jaylen Milroe and get some of his ideas because he has been following Jaylen Milroe just like I have and just like you have over the last couple seasons. We've the defensive expectations have been a real hot topic here, kind of going into this season now that you have an offensive-minded coach. I want to talk to him about the front-end schedule for Alabama and get an idea of anything that he is working on during the summertime. Bama Football on YouTube. David in with the $4.99 super chat. I really appreciate you, David. Thank you so much for being a super chatter right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Appreciate you very much. And Adam, you're right. Coach Merrill back in the fold is really good to have. I love his observations, love his takes on college football in general, right? Same thing with Tai Hayes. I think when you have Tai Hayes and you have these content contributors, they all have their different angles, their own personalities, and the way that they talk football. Have a lot of respect. And I know there's a lot of channels out there. Go support them all. Show those channels, because the content creators, they're doing this kind of as a labor of love. I think there's a lot of channels out there that are really worth checking out. And I really, advise you to go check out your channels, support it, and, support your content creators. So what I'm asking for, if there's like a hot topic that you want to talk about, throw it inside the comment box. Be happy to put it up on the screen for the next 30 minutes and talk about it. And we have a caller to open up this morning. It's a 201. We will take that call in just 1 second right here on Bama Football. Let's go to the phone lines to start the show off, batting up on the leadoff spot. We got a 201. Hey, good morning. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle, it's Adam calling from Georgia. How's it going?
What's up, Adam? I appreciate you inside the comment box and always joining the show. I always appreciate your takes. And welcome on in, man. It's Wednesday morning, May 15th, 8:31. It's a beautiful day here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, man. And welcome on in, man. Come on.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I just had a brief question. So I guess starting in fall camp, the offense is going to really be implementing an entirely new scheme, and so is the defense. And I'm wondering what you think, what effect that you think that's going to have, like on Milroe and the offensive line, which is also learning a new scheme, because we don't have the continuity now that we've got the new coaches. So do you think that's going to cause more growing pains, or do you think they can adjust sufficiently quickly for it not to be an issue?
I think that the offensive line, I think, will have a little bit more cohesiveness than we think, because Caden Proctor is coming back in. I would imagine that the players are like, hey, we understand the grass isn't always greener, and I think they're going to welcome him back. And being that he did play next to Tyler Booker the entire season last year, I think those guys will really pick off from where they started. And I think the big question is around Parker Brailsford, clearly, because we didn't see him during springtime. And I thought it was an interesting observation with Tony Tsoukalas yesterday of Tide Illustrated, part of the Rivals.com network. Definitely follow his great work. He brought up the fact that you bring in Geno Vandemark, right, out of the transfer portal, and he's an interior lineman. Well, looks like he's a center. Or at least has played some center with Coach Kapilovic, and there's kind of the connection right there. So maybe we go into this season and that's your position battle for the center position. Now, the center at Alabama, that's a heavy focal point. If we cannot get that center position taken care of, we're going to be, the offense isn't going to be able to take steps forward because there's going to continue to be issues there. I don't necessarily think that will be the case, but then again, last year was just a travesty, and I can't believe that all the missed snaps happened last year. I've never seen that covering Alabama football, watching pro football, high school football. I've just never seen that. I mean, it's not like it's it's snapping the football. And I think the offense will have good continuity. I really do. And a lot of that, and I know we have our differences of opinions, you and I, about Jaylen Milroe, but he is the leader of this team. Mm-hmm. And I think that leadership will spill over to the group. And I think with that, it seems, at least from the outside when we're looking in, it seems like they have a lot of there's this new energy that we talk about has kind of spilled over. And I think they also are ranked, fifth in the SEC? So I feel that they're going to have some reverse rat poison, which will help them stay motivated. Anytime with a team that is ranked number one in the preseason, those teams have a harder time hitting that expectation. But this team, people don't, outside of our ecosystem, Alabama has fallen off. They 1,000,000% think that. They think Coach Kalen DeBoer is soft. They think that he's too happy. He's too nice. They think that Jaylen Milroe can't get the job done. They think that Alabama won't have a quality defense, and they think that that this is kind of the start of the end for Alabama. I don't necessarily think that'll be the case. I think the roster is too loaded. But getting back to your original question, I feel that they will have more continuity on the offensive side than we anticipate. What else you got, Adam?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. My only other question was, do you think that the defensive line is going to be able to get more pressure on the quarterback this year so that we can kind of protect those young DBs and really disrupt the quarterback's timing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I'd like to ask Nick Kelly, who's coming up at 9 a.m. about that as well. Do you have, dominating defensive linemen that can get a really good push, can get after the quarterback? Do you have some edge rushers in this 4-2-5 that can be able to get to the quarterback? I think you do. And maybe when you talk breakout players, maybe that's where we see one of those guys start to emerge. But I think that is a question. And I think if you're playing devil's advocate, you do question that because you're replacing over the last 2 seasons William Anderson and you're replacing Dallas Turner. You're replacing Chris Broswell from last year as well. So I think, the inside linebackers, everybody knows that one of the top tandems in college football. But I think in terms of getting to the quarterback, can you do that? And I think also, playing devil's advocate, you're attacking Alabama's secondary. There's only one returner, Damani Jackson. The outside world, like we feel, because we talk about it every day, we're like, oh, Damani Jackson's going to be this guy. I don't think the rest of the world of college football thinks that way. I think they're thinking we attack Damani, and I think they see Deshaun Jones coming in from Wake Forest, or if it's Xavier Brown, who's a freshman, I think they're attacking those guys instantly until they can prove their value, which I would too. I mean, we don't know. We're excited to have Deshaun Jones here. Yeah, it's amazing. He had 37 tackles and 3 interceptions. He hasn't played SEC football. So until he actually comes and starts, competing with these guys, and I think they will be challenged against Western Kentucky, who will throw the football a ton, and against South Florida, who will throw the football a ton. They'll be challenged early, and I think that'll help them grow for that Week 4 game. Anything else that you got, Adam?
No, thanks so much. Great show as always, and I think it's going to be a great year, so roll Tide.
Hell yeah, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Adam Lampello calling in from Georgia. Love catching up with Adam. And think about Adam, and if you have a difference of opinion inside the comment box or when you call in, that's fine. I want to hear your side. I want to hear your angle, your viewpoint. And so come with it. Don't feel that you have to this has to be just like a one-way street. We can all have difference of opinions and still move forward with talking Alabama football. Efron, what's up, man? Good morning to you. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for being a member of the Undefeated. Ricky, what's going on, man? I appreciate you. And Ricky is saying right here, the world wants to see Alabama fail so bad. Yeah, 1,000,000%. I think when you look outside of college football, the rest of college football feels now we can attack Alabama. Now there's a time to pounce on them. Nick Saban is gone. He no longer is the guy behind the scenes puppeteering this great success. Kalen DeBoer, while he's had success, he is beatable. He is vulnerable. You know what? Last year, Alabama, people were writing Alabama off, but this year will be the really big year going into the preseason where they feel that Alabama can't contribute to the highest level because of Nick Saban is gone. So, what an opportunity for Coach Kalen DeBoer to work on his team, and you can only take things one at a time, right? So, you can only control yourself. You can only coach your own team, and all that outside noise is you can block it in and just focus on the players that you do have. That's why we only really talk about the players that are here on the team. Remember, there was, and of course, we talk about the players who are transferring out. But for the most part, I mean, this team is absolutely loaded. Number 26 right here running on your screen, Jam Miller. My goodness, what a spring he had. And I think when you look to the running backs, really strong position. The quarterbacks with Jaylen Milroe coming back, he brings a lot of experience. That whole room, Ty Simpson, talking with Merrill yesterday, brought up a great point. None of those quarterbacks left, right? They could have. They could have all hit the transfer portal. I mean, at least one or two of them, right? You don't think there's a program out there that was tampering with Dylan Lonergan? You don't imagine who was tampering with Ty Simpson, right? Imagine all of the, whatever the backdoor messages that he was getting. Jaylen Milroe said that after after the season, he was flooded with teams trying to be able to get him to switch to another program. 205-850-1994, the call-in line highlighted at the bottom of the screen if you want to jump on in before 9 a.m. when I have Nick Kelly from the Tuscaloosa News joining us. So, yeah, the world definitely does want to, see Alabama fall. If you have, topics for the show, go ahead and post them inside the comment box. I appreciate it. Herman, what's up, man? Good morning to you from the state of Texas, the Lone Star State. And Jermaine say we will lean on the run game early in the season to allow our defense to grow. This could very well be a great point. I think that the running game is very capable to get Alabama off to a really good start, especially early on in the season. I think when you get to that Georgia game, you're probably going to have a more balanced approach, even against Wisconsin, right? I think when you look to the game against Wisconsin, and we've been talking about that many different angles, that is not a game that you're just going to glance over. I think Alabama does win by more than a touchdown, but I think it will be challenging just because it is on the road. It is in Camp Randall. It'll be Wisconsin's Super Bowl game, right? Can we all agree on that? It will be 1,000,000%. We talked a little bit about kind of the wide receiver depth over the last couple of days, and that is an area with so much talent. There's so many guys, and Tony brought up a really great point yesterday in talking about a player. If you had to compare this year, which wide receiver is maybe comparable to Isaiah Bond, who transferred out to Texas, it would be Kobe Prentice because of his speed over the top. And I feel that even though we didn't see a lot from Kobe Prentice in the spring game, don't take what you saw in the spring game and make it like the absolute final for the actual season. That was a small sample size. You guys have brought it up many times. In terms of a non-freshman breakout player, we've said Kendrick Law could be very well equipped to be that guy. I think he will be. I think the more creative that you can use Kendrick Law, kind of how Kyle Shanahan uses Deebo Samuel for the 49ers, I think he could be a gamer. I think when you kind of rewind and look to how they used him last season and a little bit in the spring game, he's a dangerous weapon because of his speed and his overall size. Kobe Prentice is a guy who can break you over the top. And then how about some of these other guys that we don't really talk about from the wide receiver position, right? Like Cole Adams. How good is he going to be? My goodness. I mean, that he can get underneath. Who knows? He could catch like 50 balls this year, and we're not even talking about him. What about Emmanuel Henderson? Right? What about Ryan Williams, who's coming in? Let me ask you this, okay? When we're talking about the wide receivers, and I want to get your take undefeated in this. So type yes if you think, and we'll just set the bar for number of catches for Ryan Williams. Do you think that Ryan Williams will catch 40 passes this season in his first year at Alabama? Yes or no? So type Y if you feel that Ryan Williams will catch at least 40 passes. If you don't, just type no or Y or N. I'm going to say no. Right? Okay. You guys are with me early on. Joe is saying yes. It's an interesting question because I think when he comes in, he has all this hype around him. 40 passes is a lot of passes to catch. Ricky is saying yes. Byron's saying no. I think you're right, Jermaine. I could see Ryan Williams in his first season at Alabama catching like 30 passes for 560 yards and maybe 4 touchdowns. That sounds realistic. A-Watt, what's up, man? A-Watt, I was just asking everybody. Scott, good morning to you, man. What's up? William, good morning, man. Appreciate you being here. A-Watt, what do you think, man? Ryan Williams, do you think he catch 40 passes this year? I'm going to say less. So no, that would be for me. Catching 40 passes is different than targets. That's a really good point. Yeah. And Efron's on that too. In terms of being targeted, that you're right. That is a complete. I'm not going to ask that question right now because how many times will he be targeted? Will he be targeted 50 times? That's a completely different question. I like that. Okay, let me ask you this about the wide receivers. Okay, I want to get some interaction inside the comment box. Do you feel? Good morning, Kevin. I see you inside the comment box as well, man. Good morning. Hope you're having an amazing Wednesday. Do you feel that Alabama has 2,000-yard wide receivers? Yes or no? 2,000-yard wide receivers. I mean, I can't. I guess I could. I'm gonna ask you since I'm doing this live. When was the last time that Alabama had 2,000-yard wide receivers? Ricky Smith says if they don't target him, he cannot catch 40, but I believe his percentage will be in the 80% area. Ricky is saying no to 2,000-yard receivers. A-Watt saying he certainly hopes so. I would think that they have. I'm going to say no on that as well, but I think they're going to have like a balanced approach. They're certainly going to have one, but I don't think they will have 2,000-yard wide receivers this year. And this is the other thing that you could talk about too, is will they have. Hold on, this is my boy Mero real quick. So, but I think when you look to the running backs, will Alabama rush? They'll certainly have a 1,000-yard running back, But then you could say like certainly, but then you label it to if it's a 3-back attack, then maybe not. I don't know. Yards are very tough. Kyle is saying Bama has 3,000 wide receivers at least. I don't know. I think you're going to have to spread the ball around, which isn't a bad thing, right? Just because you don't have one guy getting all the load or being a 1,000-yard wide receiver, I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think there's going to be, I think in this type of offense, they're going to be able to utilize a lot of different weapons in a lot of different ways, and they're not going to have one guy as kind of like the focal point. Jeff is saying he thinks that Jeremy Bernard will catch for 12,000 yards this year. So William is saying Prentice and Bernard, the transfer from Washington, will catch for 1,000 yards, and that could very well be it. So yeah, that's because when you look to the wide receiver numbers, and you know what we can, and let me get you this. Let me ask you this: what do you think about a player like Emmanuel Henderson? When we look to the wide receiver room, there's so many names, and you have 3 freshmen who are not even on campus yet. I'm going to ask you about 2 wide receivers, okay? The first is Emmanuel Henderson. What are your thoughts about him? Inside the comment box. Emmanuel Henderson. No relation, even though I did play wide receiver. Not like Emmanuel, clearly. He came here as a running back. Transitioned over to wide receiver. Was injured. So he didn't get a lot of opportunities last year. But I think he could certainly be a guy who's... I don't even, a quality reserve wide receiver, right? Protest this, you loser. What's up? I see you inside the comment box. Thanks for being here. Emmanuel Henderson is who I'm asking about. Sometimes we forget about Emmanuel Henderson, right? Hood Jesus, I'll lock you up. No fly zone. I've played my highlight tapes for you guys before, right? I was like I don't know. But that was like before the star rankings. They had star rankings then. Class of 2002. E-Man gets 50 catches and 700 yards. Man, I would love it if Emmanuel Henderson had a breakout year like that. E-Man is a good gadget X type wide receiver. And he has it. He has speed. He was making plays during the Rose Bowl. The practices. I remember talking to Holman Wiggins about that before Holman Wiggins bounced out. I liked Holman Wiggins, but I like Jamarcus Shepard more. But it's interesting, and I was talking to Tony about this yesterday, who we had on our show, is now having the opportunity to talk to these different coaches. It gives you a good idea to who's working with the players. I'm going to ask about Caleb Odom right now, Adam. But Jamarcus Shepard, my goodness, man. That guy brings it. He has all the energy in the world. This new energy, it is facilitating from Shepard. All right, let's talk Caleb Odom, okay? So I get out there, and we're watching practice, and the wide receiver's on the far side of the field. Caleb Odom, he stood out to me, and I didn't even know at that time, his specific. I think I had an idea of his number, but I never really seen him in pads catching passes. And at this point, they were just in shells, like you're seeing right here. They just had the shoulder pads, and no no football pants. So he goes up and he makes it like he's an attacker, and that's what Jamarcus Shepard wants him to be like, right? An attacker. So you have another weapon in Caleb Odom, and you're right, Awat. He's a freak. And let me ask you this. How about this? Who has more of an impact this year on offense, Ryan Williams or Caleb Odom? Type R for Ryan, type C for Caleb Odom. I think that's a damn good question. Who has more of an impact this season, their year one, Caleb Odom or Ryan Williams? Man, I don't know. It's hard to say. Ricky's saying Ryan. Awat's saying Ryan. Damn. Man, Ryan Williams is going to be that guy. Williams saying Caleb. I want to say Caleb right now, but it's a tough question. Man. Ryan. Everyone's going with Ryan Williams. I hate to go against the undefeated because they're always right. Adam is saying C. Man, that's a tough question. And I think right now I'm leaning towards Caleb, but it's just because he was here in the spring and Ryan Williams wasn't here. But Ryan Williams like has that it factor. I don't know. I don't even know how I came up with that question. Kyle, let's not forget about Odom and that tight end from Washington. Okay, yeah, so we're talking about Caleb Odom right now, and he was originally a tight end when he was recruited here, but he has moved to wide receiver, right, working with these wideouts. And don't ask those tough questions, right? And then you have the tight end room, who we talked about the tight end room a little bit. Coming up at 9 a.m., we have Nick Kelly of the Tuscaloosa News who will be joining us. And then at 9:30, we have Tai Hayes and Merrill will be joining us at 9:30 as well. We talked about the tight end room. I still feel that we're sleeping on Danny Lewis. I do. I think Odom is 6'5" for sure. I always have high hopes on one of these tight ends. Always. Every single, who I thought, honestly, that Jaleel Billingsley was going to have a monster season. At some point, I thought he would have like this awakening, and he would be an impact player. That never happened. You look back to the tight ends from Alabama in the past. Who has been the most dominating tight end that we've had over the last 7 seasons? Irv Smith. I think you guys are probably going to say O.J. Howard, which was 1 year before. I got here the year after O.J. Howard. Irv Smith. I saw Irv Smith. I think he was dynamic. Miller Forrestall was a balanced type guy. Right? But I don't think you haven't really had a tight end that has been able to be kind of this hybrid wide receiver type tight end that we've been looking for. I thought Billingsley would be that guy, but he never really, turned into that, right? Protest. Irv Smith. And then I feel that there was Irv Smith and he was kind of that guy. And then there's been a drop off in terms of being like a playmaker tight end. That's why. And if you look at the tight end room right now, is there I probably don't feel that there's a tight end right now that could be like a game changer. I think they're all balanced in their own ways, right? Like CJ Dupree, he's a balanced type guy. Danny Lewis, big body, balanced. Robbie Oots, H-back. Jay Lindsey, he will be an H-back, I would imagine. Josh Cuevas, I think he's probably, balanced. Protest talking about Jaylen. For sure. Yep. He's certainly one of those guys that I think would have contributed if it wasn't for this injury, right? But A-Watt's right. I mean, I think the tight ends have been underutilized, but maybe that's just because they haven't had the right tight end in. I'm not sure. But I think, you do have really good tight ends this year. I just don't think there's like an overall, like kind of game changer type tight end that can, like for example, Process is talking about like Brock Bowers. There's not a Brock Bowers on this team at the tight end position. You look to some of the other tight ends like Jatavius Sanders, right, from Texas. And you know what? I kind of felt that Amari Niblack could be that guy. And clearly he didn't emerge into that guy. Maybe he wasn't utilized. But I still don't feel... I don't even know if he had it because we didn't really get to see Amari Niblack too much. Right? Vaughn's talking about Amari Niblack. So am I. I just feel that they didn't use him. You know what? One time, I think last season, if I'm not mistaken, they used Amari Niblack in a jet sweep because he did have some speed. Protest. I like what you're saying, man. Darrell Washington, man, he never really emerged into that guy that we thought he was going to be right out of high school. I remember he was going to be that guy, but he never did. We got an update, breaking update on here. Appreciate it, Efron. FY NFL Sunday ticket with Red Zone, $299. That's with $100 off. Offer ends May 16th, 2024. Thank you. That sounds like a commercial read for you. Do you do, Efron, do you do the Red Zone on YouTube TV? Because now that the YouTube TV has the quad box, I love watching college football Saturdays on the quad box. right? How they have like the 4 games and you can rotate. And it was perfect for March Madness as well. Since they've been able to do that, that's been great. Byron saying that we never had a tight end coach. This tight end coach that you have this year, they just released a mic'd up with him on Yay Alabama. So Brian Ellis, he comes in and I don't know, he could be like a kind of sleeper passing game coordinator. What he was able to do at the previous stop he was he at Georgia Southern, right? They passed for like 1 million yards last year. He might, who knows? He might be kind of like a sleeper quarterback whisperer. I'm not sure. But you're right. Who have been the tight ends coach? So you had Joe Cox. You had now Brian Ellis. What the guy's escaping my mind from that went to Texas. What's his name? Remember he had a monkey? What was his name? Oh, Jeff Banks. Did you hear about that? Right? Jeff Banks, he has a monkey. Like his pet is a monkey. And the monkey, well, I never saw it, but when he lived here in Tuscaloosa, they would like cruise around town and people would like snap photos. It was like on Barstool, Alabama and stuff like that. And this monkey would be like, Monkey Gate. Yeah, remember that? There was some sort of fallout too, where this monkey did some. I can't remember the whole story, right? Yeah, Todd, right? This is something like it. I don't have all the facts, but it was wild, and I heard just hearsay. Yeah, Adam as a pet, and I heard that Banks, they had some parties at his house, which isn't uncommon. I mean, people have parties at their house. But I don't know, just hearsay. But I know for sure that they had a monkey. By the way, Tony's, who calls us of Rivals, who we had on yesterday, he's doing a daily feature on transfers, and their daily feature is on NyQuil Bentrade, the transfer from Texas A&M. You have 2 transfers from Texas A&M, right? You have NyQuil Bentrade, and then you have LT Overton, right? I don't know what type of impact LT Overton will have on this year's team. Probably a player that we haven't talked a lot about, to be honest. I would imagine that we do see some rotation from him this year within the defensive front. But again, I don't know too much about LT Overton at this point in time. Byron is saying that I hope Brian Williams plays special teams and returns kicks. Also, you got to use his electricity full force out there on the field. Me too. Like, look. And we've all played NCAA football, and I can't wait for the game to drop. Who do you put returning punts? The first thing I do is I go over to the depth chart, and I see who the fastest player is with the fastest acceleration, and that's who I put to return kicks and punts. I would imagine that would be up there would be Ryan Williams. But we were talking about special teams yesterday, and someone brought up a good point about Richard Young. Richard Young, I mean, look at his after point of contact, right? Like, you couldn't take that guy down on the first hit during the spring game. My goodness, I didn't realize that he had so much power. Really liked, Richard Young. Man, when you talk about players that we're like sleeping on, and every single time, let me see, what do I think about Bentrade? I did see Bentrade out there. I think he is clearly behind. He's a quality reserve. I would say that he's behind Wilcom Formby. It's a really, you know what? When we talk about non-freshman breakout players, maybe Wilcom Formby could be one of those guys. He's from Tuscaloosa. I like the in-state players that start for Alabama. I think that's amazing. It's amazing the state of Alabama has so much high school talent. So yeah, I would imagine that Bentrade. I don't think he's reached his ceiling in any shape or form. So I think he's someone as a quality reserve at this point in time. Is that true, C-Dial, that Damani Jackson's the fastest athlete California ever had? Damn, that's crazy. I'm gonna have to go back and watch Damani Jackson's high school tape. I mean, I'm sure he was an amazing like punt returner, kick returner. Right, but you see what I'm saying? Hey, what? Like, I like the hometown, in-state type guys, like a Kobe Prentice and Emmanuel Henderson. You know, Deontay Lawson from LA, right? He's an in-state guy. You think of all the in-state guys. How about this? Can you list everyone inside the undefeated? Who's an in-state guy you're pulling for? How about Tim Keenan, Kobe Prentice, right? Wilcom Formby, right? Wilcom Formby's right here from Tuscaloosa. Who are some other in-state guys that you're pulling for? The in-state guys, I mean, Malachi Moore. I mean, shoot, Kobe Prentice, right? And look, and same thing. I know it kind of hurt my heart when Roydell Williams left, but I think it was time for him to leave. And I think he'll do a really good job at Florida State. You kind of look at in-state guys to go elsewhere. Jaylen Milroe, perfect example. Ryan Williams, right? Man, it's crazy. That's what I'm saying. The state of Alabama, like, has Ryan Williams and Jaylen Milroe. We have Nick Kelly of the Tuscaloosa. Bring on Nick. Nick, can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up. All right. We bring on Nick Kelly from the Tuscaloosa News. Nick, good morning. I appreciate you joining us. Really great to have you. We really appreciate you being here, man. Please, everyone inside the Undefeated, please welcome Nick Kelly. Nick, how's your May 15th on this Wednesday going?
Man, it's going great. It's sunny and beautiful outside, and just great to be with you. And how are things going with you?
Man, things are going great. You know, we get into the month of May, and in the past, we haven't had that much to talk about other than spring football and kind of, you know, the takeaways from the spring game. Now there's so much with the transfer portal, and I want to kind of start out on a couple points talking about the transfer portal additions under Coach Kalen DeBoer. But first, please, everybody, please congratulate Nick Kelly. He's recently married, so give us a short capsule, man. The wedding, was it an amazing experience? How you feeling now that you're a married man? Because it gives you a lot of momentum in terms of like life. Like, this is a whole new beginning. So congratulations, and quickly tell us, did you have the most amazing day?
Yeah, well, thank you first off. And no, it was incredible. Just so grateful for all the people that celebrated us and just the time that they took to be with us, and just so grateful for my now wife, Elizabeth, who's just a lovely person. And it's just been so fun to, step into this new chapter. It's kind of a crazy new chapter for Alabama football, also a new chapter for my life, and just super grateful for everything and feeling blessed, and just kind of excited to venture into the offseason more, and grateful for all that's been going on. And just, it's been a crazy year. I mean, between Nick Saban retiring and the Final Four run covering that, there's been not much of a chance to take a breath, and finally getting a chance to do that now. So trying to take that deep inhale before the exhale that is the football season, which it feels like it's a ways away, but it's going to be here before we know it.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask you on something that I know is close to you, and that is Cecil Hurt. Because, you know, as you were growing into your profession, and we still all are, I mean, there's never going to be an icon, someone as impactful as Cecil was. When you were kind of earning your stripes, what are some things that, that you took away that you could from Cecil? Maybe, you know, a couple elements that you still try to model your game, if you can, in terms of writing from someone who's just absolutely legendary.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you don't try to imitate too much, just because you kind of have to be yourself. I mean, you know that as a content creator, as a broadcaster, whatever it might be, you learn from other people, but you don't necessarily try to mimic directly, because if you do, it can come off as fake. I mean, you want to be genuine. And that's the thing about Cecil. He was genuine. He was a big guy in terms of authenticity. He really believed in just being yourself. And I think he appreciated authenticity, whether it be for food, the profession. I mean, you were around him too. You know, just kind of what he was all about to an extent as well. And authenticity was his biggest thing. And also one thing he mentioned was, everyone you encounter, they know more than you do, kind of thing. And part of that was everyone thinks they know more than maybe they do about Alabama football or basketball or whatever it might be. But also I think there's a respect in that, and just his approach to that. So those are some of the bigger things I took from him. But phenomenal writer. I love reading his stuff. And so that was something for me that it was just a treat to be able to see just kind of how he operated and how he treated people.
We've had a lot of time now to kind of digest the transfers that have been in. Not a lot of time, but we've had some time to understand the transfers that are coming in from the transfer portal. If we can quickly just, encapsulate, the guys that are coming in. And I always ask the undefeated is the community that we have on here. They know we like, if you have something, they will quickly find this out for you. But I like to talk like most impactful. And I think, we've kind of came to a consensus within our community that Kane Proctor, like you said, sorta at Iowa, coming back. That's gigantic for Alabama. I like Graham Nicholson. Just who do you think will be some impactful transfers under this spring window that Coach Jaylen Milroe has brought in that will certainly fill needs for this roster?
Yeah, I mean, let's start with those two because I think they are highest on that list. They needed an offensive lineman, at least one. They got two, and they got a guy who is a blue chip kind of guy in Caden Proctor. Still room to improve in his game, but I think a lot of people all of last year, even when he was struggling, were excited to see what he could do long term. So when he left, it was kind of this disappointment of, man, it would have been great to see what he could do when he has a full offseason in the weight and strength and conditioning program, and when he has a chance to get a season under his belt. So he's a guy who can be super talented, has incredible capabilities, just continuing to help him realize that. And that's what this staff will have to help him do, because he's going to be coming in without having spent the spring with Alabama. So it's going to be really key for him to get in. But I think he's a high impact guy just because they need guys on the offensive line who have experience, especially at tackle. Graham Nicholson, as far as a kicker, they needed a guy. Jaylen Milroe said there was open competition, which is not a ringing endorsement of maybe a Connor Talty. So it was key to bring in a guy. And they not only bring in a guy, they bring in a guy who won the award for top kicker in the nation a season ago. I mean, it's so wild to think about. They go from having Will Reichert, the NCAA's all-time leading point scorer, a very accurate kicker, a guy that Nick Saban loved, to then getting the one guy who beat him out for the Grozo Award. So, I mean, you couldn't ask for a much better situation at kicker than what Alabama has and what they were able to pick up in the transfer portal. So those are two high-impact guys. But you also look in the secondary because they lost a ton of guys. I believe 10 was the number in the portal, and that doesn't even include the NFL draft. So they needed to get guys, and it wasn't necessarily going to be a one-for-one. Okay, you lose Terry Arnold, who was one of the best defensive backs in the country. You get another guy like that, but they brought in Damani Jackson. They bring in a Keon Sabb. They bring in a Deshaun Jones. You have guys who have experience, not necessarily on that level, but just in terms of impact. I mean, they need these guys to step in and play well. So those are some of the biggest names for me that I'm watching, and I think have the biggest chance to have an impact just based on what Alabama needs for snaps.
Here with Nick Kelly of the Tuscaloosa News. Please follow him on social media. Check out the Tuscaloosa News. They have some great stuff. Do a great job on social media, by the way. I love following you during this springtime. Great job, especially covering, the coach Jaylen Milroe and the whole, crazy coaching transition. We've had a unique opportunity over the last, 120 days to be able to speak to assistant coaches, which wasn't the case in the past. We've had, you could talk to them during bowl games, the deal, but never in this sort of capacity. Getting an opportunity for me to talk to the assistant coaches, I think was interesting because you get to see just how talented the assistant coaches are. For example, like Mo Lindquist, Kane Womack, these guys were just head football coaches, and now they are working with the University of Alabama as position coaches, elevating the overall roster. What has it been for you as a reporter to get to talk to assistant coaches and kind of see this new energy that people speak about, but also kind of the intelligence and the overall just kind of the climate of the attitude of some of these assistant coaches?
Yeah, I think it's refreshing, first off, just because you get multiple personalities. You get to talk to different types of people. I mean, for me, I just like talking to people in general. And I think it's so fun when you can get different just football guys talking about the sport, talking about their players. And it's nothing personal against the head coach because they can be great as well, but it's more just you get to talk to different personalities. So if you want a perspective on the running game, you can go talk to Robert Gillespie, and because he's directly in that room. He's constantly talking to those people. And I get the strategy Nick Saban deployed, but at the same time, for me as a reporter, selfishly, it's just fun to talk to some of these people. I mean, for me, assistant coaches are some of the more fun people to talk to because a lot of them are just about ball. They just want to talk about football. They want to talk about basketball, whatever sport you're covering. Those assistant coaches are less CEO and more just, hey, I just want to talk about my guys or talk about the sport. So I really enjoy it. I think it's a fresh perspective. And that was the case when I covered Missouri too. Assistant coaches were some of the best quotes and some of the best interviews. So I'm really excited.
I wanted to ask you, Nick, I think we still have Nick. Still there, Nick? See if you can get back.
You still got me?
Yeah, I think I still got you. Okay, there we go.
Perfect.
Something that we talk about, and everybody has a difference of opinion, and it's a very hot topic all the time about Jaylen Milroe returning. It's a polarizing topic. The quarterback position clearly is going to always be polarizing. In this particular case, my argument about Jaylen Milroe, and some of the points that I like to point out, is he had Bill O'Brien, who didn't even want him, according to Jaylen Milroe, as a quarterback. And then he had Tommy Rees. And in my opinion, I felt the stage was a little bit too big for Tommy Rees at that point in time. Then you had Ryan Grubb for 10 days or whatever that was. And now you have Nick Sheridan. And from listening to Jaylen Milroe himself, he seems to already have a really good continuity with Sheridan, with Coach Kalen DeBoer, in this whole new system. At a glance, when you kind of zoom out and talk about Jaylen Milroe, how much impact do you think him having several different offensive coordinators, has impacted his game, or, maybe he's still on track? Like, kind of what's your take from having so many different coaches during the short time that he's been here?
Yeah, I think continuity is a good thing when you can have it, and he hasn't had it. I mean, he's, like you said, he's had multiple guys, and it doesn't mean you can't thrive. It doesn't mean you can't do well. But even just think about yourself or about anyone who, say you're in a job and every year you have a new boss. That's not the easiest thing to navigate. It helps when you have continuity. So I think that granted, he's not necessarily going to have that, because if he has a good year, he'll probably go to the NFL. But yeah, I think that would have to mess with the guy. And especially now that he has to learn a new system and have to learn some new concepts, that's a challenge. Doesn't mean you can't figure it out, but I think it does. Say if he would have had the same offensive coordinator from his start until now, same system from start until now. I mean, experience just breeds just confidence. Doesn't mean you can't be confident, but that's just a much easier way to that. And so that's something he's had to battle, and a lot of these guys on the offense have had to battle.
Yeah, I just want to get your take on that, because when you kind of zoom out and you look to the offensive coaches that everybody has had to adapt to, specifically the quarterback, and I still feel that things are not the same, and they might change. But since Steve Sarkisian and AJ Milwee and Mortensen were here, I felt like those guys were like the quarterback whisperers behind the scenes that really helped. Plus, you had different sort of weapons, but that's quarterbacks. We could talk quarterbacks. You could have your own YouTube channel talking about just quarterbacks. The defensive expectations is also something I wanted to ask you about, considering the fact that now you have, I guess, what is known as an offensive-minded coach, and you're transitioning from a defensive-minded coach and Coach Saban, who was the cornerbacks coach to me. I always saw him working with the DBs. But now you have an offensive coach. So when you look to the defense, and expectations are always so hard to talk about, but based on the knowledge that we have in terms of starters, roster, what's feasible, with this defense and, this 4-2-5, which, they played 4-2-5 before, but kind of how are you looking at the defense? And, you don't have Kevin Steele, you don't have Coach Saban, you don't have T-Rob. So a whole different mix on the defensive side.
Yeah, it's a group that to me is the biggest question mark. I mean, the offense, there's a lot to figure out too, but just because that's Kalen DeBoer's specialty, there's a proven track record. To me, I feel more confident in the offense going into the season than I am the defense. Doesn't mean that the defense won't be good. It's just more so, what is this going to look like? How good are they going to be? And really, how does this group that was tailored more for Nick Saban's defense, how does that group translate to Kane Wommack's defense? We'll see. Could be good, could be a struggle. I mean, that's just something that we're going to figure out. It's just we don't have enough evidence just yet. And part of it is you just lost a lot of guys too. I mean, this team to me doesn't necessarily have a clear cut, here's the pass rusher, here's the guy who can get after the quarterback, like we kind of have known coming into past seasons. Even though, we had questions, how would Dallas Turner be with Will Anderson gone, not taking the double teams anymore? You kind of had a pretty good idea Dallas Turner is still going to be pretty darn good.
Yeah.
What are Keanu Coote and Quandarius Robinson, guys like that, what are they going to be like at that Wolf position in terms of getting after the passer? What is that going to look like? Can they man that? Alabama's got guys with pedigree. Doesn't mean that they don't have guys. There's just not that proven, we know this guy's going to be pretty darn good. With another good season, he'll be a first-round pick kind of guy. So I'm curious to see what the pass rush is like. How do they get after the quarterback? Also, the secondary, there's just so many questions, so much change. We touched on that a little bit before, but I mean, when you lose as many talented guys as they have, and Alabama's not unfamiliar with that, it happens all the time. But this secondary, just a total revamp. You had all those guys leave, completely different group. How do they mesh together? Who plays where? Who fits best where? Just a lot of questions. So to me, the defense could be good, could be a really strong suit. I don't think Kane Womack has been able to work with this kind of talent before. So it's going to be fun to see what he can do with that. But still a lot of question marks just because it is a new defense and it is a new group of talent working together.
This front end schedule for Alabama, I think it was yesterday, it came out that Alabama will be hosting Western Kentucky at 6 p.m. Kind of an interesting storyline is they have TJ Finley. I think Alabama faced them before, if I'm not mistaken, when seems like he's been around for a long time. That game's at 6 on ESPN. Still no time on South Florida. We all went to that game last year. That game was it was so strange with the rain, and there's a lot to dive into that game. Wisconsin on the road, Madison at 11 a.m., everyone's favorite time for a football game, and then 6:30 for Georgia. So when you look to this front end schedule, then you have Vanderbilt and, of course, South Carolina. When you look to this front end schedule, clearly the high point in everybody, the first game for Alabama to everybody is Georgia. But, before that, you have Western Kentucky, you have South Florida. What's kind of your general viewpoint of Alabama's front end schedule?
It's really intriguing. I think the first two games, nice way to get things warmed up. Western Kentucky is an interesting team. They've had some success, but coming to Bryant-Denny Stadium to play Alabama for the first game is not going to be an easy task, even if Nick Saban's no longer the coach. So you have those kind of two games to get just some experience, some Kalen DeBoer can kind of get rolling with the squad. But then you start kind of this gauntlet to an extent of, okay, you go to Wisconsin. Not that Wisconsin is going to be the best team they face this year, but a road trip to a place that you never really go against a team that, that place is going to be rocking. I was looking at ticket prices, and it's pretty darn high for that Alabama game. I think a lot of people are excited. That's my neck of the woods where I grew up, is the Midwest. And people, I think, are very intrigued to see Alabama playing in Wisconsin. Even if it's not Nick Saban's team, it's still Alabama.
Sure.
So should be a great environment. Camp Randall, very fun place to watch some college football. And the danger, too, about that game is you have Georgia at home the following week, as you mentioned, which is probably the preeminent game of the season for Alabama, maybe even for college football, one of the best games on the schedule, at least in this point in May. And so very easily guys could look forward to that game, could look ahead to that game and overlook a trip to Wisconsin, which, as you talked about with South Florida last year, very strange game, but when you go on the road, kind of all bets are off to an extent. So Alabama cannot afford to overlook Wisconsin and look to Georgia. So it's going to be very key to stay 1 week at a time because, that Georgia game, talk about a welcome to the SEC for Kalen DeBoer, kicking things off against Kirby Smart. At least it's at Bryant-Denny Stadium, but still a heck of a first matchup in the SEC, which is maybe nice that the SEC scheduled Vanderbilt the following week to kind of have that a little bit of a release valve, so to speak, for Kalen DeBoer and the team. But talk about a schedule to start off in those first 4 weeks. So you have a few games to get warmed up, and then you have two, I think, tough games, and Wisconsin's tough because it's on the road. So very intriguing to start. And there's no, true warm-up month, if you will, for Kalen DeBoer. Maybe it's a warm-up week or two.
Here with Nick Kelly of the Tuscaloosa News. Please follow him on social media and check out the Tuscaloosa News. And then when you look to the back end schedule, I think it's one of the most challenging back end schedules outside of Florida. I don't know if you've had a chance to look to Florida's schedule, but their back end is just it's incredible. It's the most challenging back end period in college football. But when you look to Alabama's back end schedule, you have games on the road against Tennessee, LSU. You play Missouri at home. Then you go to Oklahoma, and then you turn around and you prepare for Hugh Freeze in your rivalry game. So that back end schedule, and I honestly feel, this is just my opinion, that whoever wins the college football national title this year, specifically whoever wins the SEC championship this year, you can make a play for this. Could be one of the better college football teams, just because of the gauntlet that you're going to have to go through to win the college football championship. It's not out of the realm that Alabama and Georgia could play 3 times. Think about it, right? They play at home. What if they're 1-2 in the SEC? That's twice. And then depending on this Frankenstein playoff, they could get paired where they meet again. I don't know. That would be crazy. That would be great for us.
That'd be wild. It'd be wild. I mean, it'd be fun. I mean, talk about some high caliber football, but that'd be something. It reminds me of the NFL, where say you'd have a rivalry game where you could play, 3 times in one season.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that. But that's the thing. I think people all season it's going to be comparing Kalen DeBoer and Nick Saban. I mean, naturally, it's where your head goes.
Yep.
But I think it's so important for people to remember that what Nick Saban accomplished, what he did over his 17 seasons at Alabama, is going to be so tough to replicate no matter who you put. Even if Kirby Smart was here right now, even if, no matter fill in the blank coach's name, it's going to be so hard to win national titles in this new era because you have to go through a playoff to get there. You have to win. You're now in an SEC that has Oklahoma and Texas in it. I mean, the challenge of winning now is going to be so high. That level is going to be so high that to expect someone to do what Nick Saban did, to be honest with you, I don't think Nick Saban could do what he did in this era of college football, just because there's more parity, there's more just a long path to get there than there used to be. And so that's, I think, what people have to remember is if you win a national championship, like you said, Kyle, you're going to really earn it. I mean, it's coming out of the SEC, you're really going to earn that. And Big Ten too. I mean, you look at that, just that slate. So it's a whole new era, but I think it's exciting. I mean, it's different, but I personally love when there's change and you can kind of just have everything so fascinating, everything so new. Of course, some people don't like change. I don't like change in some ways, but I'm just intrigued. For me, as in my job, I'm just intrigued by it. So I think it's going to be a fun season.
Yeah, as am I. I can't wait. I mean, I can't wait. This college football season will be unlike any other season that we've seen. And I think sometimes we get in our mind, you lose one game and you're out of the, the playoffs or the 4-team or whatever it was, the BCS. No, not so much. I think you're going to have teams who lose 2 games who could possibly steal 3 games and still make the playoffs and still have a run at the national championship. This is a completely new college football world that we are now in. Okay, so I wanted to ask you, from a reporter standpoint, you've been covering the Tuscaloosa News. I got here and the head basketball coach was Avery Johnson. And one thing that I learned living in Tuscaloosa is that, clearly football is the thing that drives the bus, but people love Alabama basketball. They want this team to be good. This team is now elite. This team now has reverse rat poison. On3 just released their preseason rankings that has Alabama number 1. They got Cliff Amore. Wrightsel's coming back. We're still kind of waiting on, Mark Sears, but you got Grant Nelson coming back. I mean, this roster, Jaron Stevenson, Diabate, like the roster is unbelievable. What has it been like for you as a reporter to watch what Nate Oates has done with Alabama basketball? Because it's really been phenomenal. The Alabama basketball is right here where they're at this point in time.
Yeah, I think this is a golden era. So Alabama basketball fans need to enjoy it because I think this is somewhat unprecedented for what this team. I mean, there's a legitimate chance, Kyle, that in preseason rankings, that the basketball team could be ranked higher than football. And I don't think football is going to be ranked that low. But I think it's very possible that if Alabama gets Mark Sears back, that you see them in that 1, 2, 3 spot. And Alabama might be number 5 in football. I mean, I'm just projecting here because I just don't know how the rankings are going to come out. But I mean, just even the fact that's even in the conversation is wild. And that's not a knock on football as much as it is for basketball, what the men's team has become and what Nate Oates has done. I mean, they are a contender every year. It's not just, okay, this is their special team. This is their run. This past year was maybe a quote unquote down year, and they made the Final Four. I mean, that's what's wild. This roster should be better than last year's roster, and which is just so wild to think about. So this is not okay, they have a 1 year, maybe 2 year run. I mean, they are building every year. They're getting better every year. And the program becomes easier and easier to sell because what more do they have accomplished other than win a national championship? They're producing draft picks. They play a fun style. They made the Final Four. They're having postseason success. I mean, this is a group that Nate Oates is doing just about everything. And so there's a lot to like, I think, if you're a recruit right now. And if you're a fan right now, it's just a fun style of basketball, and there's a lot to enjoy.
And I think what's interesting about Nate Oates as a basketball coach is one of the signs of a really high caliber coach is when you can't get that coach to go to your program, but you start taking his assistant coaches, and to be able to think about the high quality assistant coaches that he lost this past season, and he's able to still make a run. Now, I think that this team played to their absolute potential, and we all know that they weren't that they were missing a rim protector, and Bediako left a little bit too early. But now you have Chris Amori coming in. How big of an impact was that for Alabama to get Amori, considering that he was just at North Carolina, right? He was at North Carolina, and then he committed to Alabama. I mean, North Carolina basketball, they're like up there on the Mount Rushmore of basketball teams. So that's kind of where we are. I mean, what do you think, just, far out with Amori coming in, how big do you think that will be for Alabama basketball now that they do have their rim protector?
Yeah, I think that was the signature piece. And Nate Oates not so subtly hinted at that throughout the season, that they were going to go get a rim protector. And so if they didn't get Cliff Amori, there were other guys they could have gotten after and guys that were in the mix for. But to go get Cliff, who they wanted, who was one of their top priorities, was huge. I mean, they went and got a guy who is a really solid defender, makes plays. I mean, just, again, a guy you can build around. And I think a guy you can funnel players to that will protect the rim. And so I think they're in a great spot. I mean, he's the signature piece for this offseason in terms of attaining him. And I think it could have worked out much better, frankly, for Alabama. And to your point, Kyle, I mean, they are fully in it, competing with the blue bloods of college basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, Alabama is, I think the phrase is new blood, right? Is what they're starting to accomplish. And Alabama really is in just a spot where you don't have to go to a Duke or North Carolina or a Kansas necessarily. If you want to play high caliber basketball and play in a system that's going to get you the NBA, you can do that at Alabama. No, they don't have the championships in basketball that maybe some of those other programs do. But if you don't necessarily just want to be another guy at one of those programs, you can really come and create a legacy at Alabama and help Alabama reach new heights and still accomplish what you want to do. So it is wild to see Alabama beating out some of those schools, some of those teams on a consistent basis. And I think it's just, again, it's such a fun time to be an Alabama basketball fan. If you have suffered through the mediocre to bad college basketball that at times has happened in Tuscaloosa. And so I think I know a lot of Alabama basketball fans, and I'm just happy for them because a lot of them suffered and waited for this moment.
Have a few more minutes with you before we get to 9:30. Is there any movement on like this new arena? Like, is this realistic? Like, do we have any like insight on this this new arena? Like, what are we hearing on that front?
Yeah, I still think it's a long-term play kind of thing. And just right now, there's so many things in college athletics that are kind of being figured out. And we're waiting on the case right now with the NCAA and versus House and trying to figure out what that means for revenue sharing with athletes. And so I think some of those things need to get figured out. Not that that's tied directly with the arena, but it all comes together. It all contributes. And so I think it's just been something that Alabama is working toward. Greg Byrne has stressed that many times. It's just not the same priority that right now you need NIL to compete. You need new facilities types of things. And so I think, and that's always been clear that for Nate Oates to stay, he doesn't necessarily need a new arena. He wouldn't mind it, but I think Nate Oates could coach a team at the local park and they'd win games. And so great to have a new arena if you can. It's just that takes time, takes serious capital, whereas some of that more short-term NIL is needed to be able to compete at the level they want to. And Coleman, I mean, yes, could use upgrades, could be better, but Alabama's winning in Coleman. They're winning big games. They're filling out Coleman in some big games.
Yes.
And so it's not this, this has to happen tomorrow.
Yep.
We're working toward it is my understanding, but it's just, it's just something that maybe is not going to be a tomorrow or the next day type of thing, but still it's in the works. It's just not an immediate kind of thing.
And one of the things that fans need to realize is that Coleman Coliseum is a large arena. So if you want to get a chance to watch this great Alabama basketball team, you have an opportunity to get in there right now. But this new arena, I would imagine, is a little bit smaller because Coleman is a big place. It's a big venue. So I don't know, maybe keep that in mind. Before we let you go, Nick, what are you working on this summer? Any features, any projects? What should fans watch or be looking for on Tuscaloosa News from your sports coverage?
Yeah, I have some features in the works. And that's the great thing about this time of year is you can kind of take more of a step back and work on some of those things that aren't as much tied to a moment. So I think it's looking at a Kalen DeBoer and trying to better show who he is and what he's about. And just also looking at what Alabama has in these different personalities and just types of people who are now leading the program, because it just has a very different feel from when Nick Saban was running things. It's not better for worse. It's just different.
Sure.
And so I think it's pulling back the curtain some on some of those personalities, types of people. But Kalen DeBoer, to me, is just fascinating because he is such a different person than Nick Saban. So that's, I guess, the extent I'll go into that about what I'm working on. But I think look for some stuff like that coming out this summer.
Hey, Nick, well, we really appreciate you having on. Undefeated, please thank Nick Kelly for joining us today. Nick, thank you so much, and we look forward to talking to you sometime in the future, and we really appreciate you joining the show today.
Great to be with you, Kyle. Thanks for having me, and have a great rest of, what is it, Wednesday? Great rest of your Wednesday.
Yeah. All right, man. Take it easy. All right. That's Nick Kelly from Tuscaloosa News, and now we go to Tai Hayes of Around the Table Sports, one of my favorites. Tai, can't see you. There he is.
There we go.
There's my boy. So Tai does such a great job. He kind of like, when I have Tai on, I feel that I have kind of like that. I have like no anxiety. Not that I have like, when I'm on, I'm good. But it's just like Tai, you have like a really seasoned co-pilot, right? So you can kind of just like, now I can have like some tea or some coffee, and Tai can fly the plane. And so no, man, just love having you on board, man. And that was a great interview. Nick Kelly does a great job. And the day before we had Tony Stukalis. One thing that I've learned in this industry is like, we have our content creators that are really good, but the editorial guys, man, they are grinders. They are smart. They have their pulse on this team. And I can't even imagine for them, like Nick was saying, he got to cover the Rose Bowl and the Final Four in his career for the Tuscaloosa News. You know, that's a really coveted job. So, and look, what we just saw, like Tony I would imagine will move on and move up. Nick as well. Like he's great. I felt like I was interviewing like somebody from like ESPN or something like that. So, you know, and you too, Tai. So you're right there. That's why you have a daily spot. So ladies and gentlemen, Tai Hayes, Around the Table Sports. I'm going to send Meryl the link, but Tai, kind of give an open, what are we looking kind of at from your perspective? I know you've had some videos in your channel talking kind of overviews. What are some themes that are kind of emerging into the summer month as we kind of turn from, you know, spring football into some recruiting, recapping the transfer portal? Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, today I have a video coming out on Quincy Porter. He just released his top 6. If you look at the 24/7 Sports Composite, he's a top 50 player in the nation, specifically number 49. Wide receiver out of Bergen Catholic High School in New Jersey, number 7 wide receiver in the nation, number 1 in New Jersey. Like I said, top 6 that consists of Ohio State, A&M, Michigan, Penn State, OU, Bama. But one of the things I like to do, Kyle, is I don't just be like, oh, well, you know, these are the 6 schools. Let's talk about the wide receiver coaches that are after him, right? Because you got some heavyweights. Brian Hartline, don't even need to say anything else. Holloman Wiggins, now at A&M. Ron Bellamy at Michigan. Marcus Hagans at Penn State. Emmett Jones at OU, who came from Texas Tech. And Kyle, I think there's a principled argument. Emmett Jones is one of the more underrated wide receiver coaches in the nation. He's done a fantastic job at the Sooners, and the Sooners were always known for being an offensive powerhouse in terms of what they were able to do. But man, that guy, Emmett Jones, for it being a defensive-minded team, his wide receiver recruiting, his wide receiver development, and his eye for he knows what he's after. And then, of course, you have Jamarcus Shepard. So we go through all of that. I then talk about how many wide receivers each school has in the NFL and the production that each of those schools saw in the NFL in 2023. Now, obviously, when I talk about how many are in the NFL, that includes the 2024 NFL draft. So that's going to be a really fun video. Shot that this morning. And I had to do a little caveat for Jamarcus Shepard because Bama has 9 wide receivers in the NFL, a production of 5,690 yards, and I believe 23 touchdowns. That doesn't sound right. I think it was more than that. It was more touchdowns than I didn't write that down, but they are, in my opinion, wide receiver U right now, just off of numbers. Ohio State also had 9, just shy of Alabama in production. But I did have to do a little star because Jamarcus Shepard himself just sent 3 guys to the NFL. and they're all going to be very productive. So really excited about that video coming out. I always love doing the recruiting looks, and that's kind of where we're at. Recruiting is about to take off.
Do you feel that what has it been like for you to see Coach Jaylen Milroe in the early recruiting process? Because so much so we've been talking about the transfer portal, but when you zoom out and you look to who he's been able to recruit, man, he's gone nationwide. And I get it. The country's shorter because of private planes or whatever, but he's gone all over to recruit. New Jersey, Los Angeles, in-state for Alabama. What is kind of the early take on like the pulse of his recruiting approach? Because it certainly hasn't been just designated to one specific region.
No, I think that I've been impressed, right? Alabama is a top 10 team in the nation right now in recruiting, and they are doing so with 10 commits. And allow me 1 second to go over to 24/7 Sports. If anybody's wondering why I main 24/7 Sports, it's because Josh Pate is the first guy to give me my shout out. And as long as he's with 24, and I really like some of the guys that do their rankings.
Yeah.
I think they've got some really solid dudes on the back end who never, their names are never known, but I've gotten a chance to kind of talk to them, and I really like what they do. So let's take a look at the top 10 to answer this, right? So you have Notre Dame at number 1 with 20 commits currently. That's not shocking. Marcus Freeman always jumps out really quick in these recruiting classes. Notre Dame will be a team that maybe they'll finish in the top 10, but I'm looking for them to finish more around the likes of 13. If I had to guess way too early in May, 13's the number, because they're really only going to take what, Kyle, 5, 6 more? Right. So their class is pretty much already full. 11 4-stars, 9 3-stars, solid class, an average recruit rank of 90.64. Next, we get into Ohio State. 3 5-stars, 8 4-stars, 2 3-stars, an average of 94.71. That's solid.
Yeah.
Ohio State will be a top 5 class. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You get into LSU at 3. They have 12 commits, 3 5-stars, 8 4-stars, 1 3-star, an average of 93.90. Oklahoma sitting at 4, 15 commits, 10 4-stars, 5 3-stars, a 90.41. At USC, you have at 5, you have USC, 12 commits, 2 5-stars, 3 4-stars, 7 3-stars, 92.08. Now, the reason I give you that for the top 5, Alabama has less commitments than anybody in the top 10. Alabama has 10 commits, 1 5-star, 7 4-stars, 2 3-stars, and an average of 92.99. Now, if you equalize it, if Alabama continues recruiting in the manner they are, if they had 20 commits, they would be the number 1 recruiting class in the nation. If they had 13 commits, they would probably be a top 5 recruiting class in the nation, because it is only separated. Bama has a score of 199.35. 5 at USC is 219.59. Right? So 1 more commit, they would surpass Penn State, who has 3 more commits. They'd probably surpass Clemson, depending on who the guy is, who has 1 more commit. I give all of that to you, and I know that's a roundabout way, and I'm sorry to be long-winded with this. DeBoer is doing a good job.
Yeah.
When I gave you that list, Notre Dame has continuity. Ohio State, continuity. LSU, continuity. Oklahoma, continuity. USC, continuity. Clemson, continuity. Penn State, continuity. There's only 2 teams in the top 10, or I'm sorry, 3, if I'm including Alabama, that do not have continuity. At number 9, you have Syracuse. Fran Brown goes over there. They get I forget the guy's name. He's the defensive line coach that was just with Colorado. But if you follow recruiting, this guy has a lot of pull. Syracuse is a team to watch. And then you have A&M at number 10. You see a theme. These coaching staffs that have continuity are ahead of Alabama, but Alabama is right in the thick of it, and there's only 2 guys that a lot of these recruits are familiar with, Coach Gillespie and Coach Freddie Roach, in terms of active personnel that are going to be recruiting and on the field. That, to me, shows Jaylen DeBoer has done a fantastic job. And Kyle, to your point, he didn't come in here and get to hit the ground running. He came in here when Nick Saban retired. He had to re-recruit the entire roster first, then the entire class of 2024, then the guys that were already committed in 2025, then the transfer portal opened up, and now he gets to focus on recruiting. He hasn't had the easiest transition. Elko didn't have to replace the GOAT. Fran Brown didn't have to replace the GOAT. They were able to hit the ground running much easier than was Kalen DeBoer. I am very impressed.
Yeah, I like the way you put it. I mean, sometimes you look, is it quantity or is it quality? And I think in this case, you take your time, you have your transfers solidified, and now you can really, put your foot down because you have your football camps coming up here in June and guys who are going to continue to visit. Like I just saw, for example, Dejoun Lee, I think the top defensive back has scheduled his official visit now for June 21st. And that's at the back end after he's taken all of his officials. So I'm going to bring on Coach Merrill and Tai for our next segment. Tai, rock it out with Coach Merrill. Merrill's back. Merrill will double dip with us today. Merrill will be on with Tai. You guys close it out. And then we got Coach Sean and Merrill tonight. So Merrill back in. I'm out. Thank you for joining me on my segment with Nick Kelly. I hope you guys enjoyed it for the past hour and 15. Now you got Coach Merrill and Coach Tai. Tai, do your thing, man. And appreciate you more than you know. And here comes Coach Merrill. And here goes Kyle Henderson.
Thank you very much, Kyle. My man.
Sweet. What a transition. Here comes Merrill, and there goes Kyle in the background. No, it was awesome, dude. That was a great chit chat right there, man. Yeah. I enjoyed listening to that.
Man, anytime I get to rock on with Kyle, it's a lot of fun. We got to get you a new little tag, though, analyst, right? See, look
dude,
over here. I got the keeper of Blaze, the disappointer of Grandad, right? We got to get you.
I was looking at that yesterday, man. Like I was like, oh, dude, like he gets a really, really creative tag. I need a creative tag. You know, I don't even know what it would be, man. I mean, what is it? Hunter of heads, just from the safety standpoint. I don't know.
That works. That works.
Maybe
we'll get like a Game of Thrones thing going in here, right? I'll dress up as a dragon one day.
Oh, dude, I love it, man. Dude, I love it, man. I always think of too. I look at the characters from like Yellowstone. Who would I be? Definitely. You can throw Jamie out of the window. I'm not a Jamie, everybody. I'll tell you that right now. If you watch Yellowstone, that guy's another dude. But I'm sitting there, and everyone wants to be Rip Wheeler, But am I Rip? I don't know. Am I Casey? I don't know. Am I Kevin Costner? Whoever his name is, John Dutton? I don't know, So am I an asshole? I don't know.
Love it, man. Love it. We're going to have a great time today. Shout out to everybody in Undefeated. Todd, Max, Rocket, Steven, Chance, A. Watt, Adam, of course, Lance. We have, who else? Jimmy Lee in here. And I know there's, who else was it? Because they were just talking about Ronnie. Of course, Ronnie, who, you did get me to crack yesterday. I saw it, Ronnie. I saw it, Ronnie. That you did get me to crack yesterday, but I did want to start with this right here. Adam Lamparello, thank you for being in here as always, my man. He says, Tai, I'm curious about how you think this relaxed culture and all this music at practice will affect the new generation of entitled narcissistic players. Honestly, and this might be a little bit of a hot take, I think people have changed, no doubt about it. But when you're dealing with guys who were elite athletes coming out of high school, like they're still viewing themselves as elite athletes coming out of high school. I don't think that has changed too terribly much. Now, obviously, access to NIL has made things different because if you can monetize something, you're going to, right? Like, I think that goes without saying. But I don't worry about the new relaxed culture, man, because I think that there are multiple different ways to do the same thing. Adam says they can take their music and play it on their own time. Now, did Nick Saban not play music? Because I swore like I'd seen clips of them listening to music and stuff at practice. But
maybe not as like prominent, not like all practice long, like there's a seriousness about the business that like Saban went about, I just don't think it was like as in depth. I don't. That's an interesting one, right? Like, but I don't know if he did it quite like DeBoer does it.
Yeah, listen, I think if you're worried about music, you're worried about the wrong thing, man. Do you listen to music on your way to school whenever you teach? Do you listen? Like, if that's the case, like, where do we draw the line? I listen to music before I come in here. Am I now lazy, entitled, and narcissistic? I don't I'm not gonna lie, Adam. That one, it genuinely doesn't make any sense to me. He says practice isn't playtime. I don't know. That goes completely over my head.
Yeah, well, I think I can speak to this one, Ty, on a good one with this, because every coach has a different style, right? We've heard about this a little bit. It's so funny, Adam, you actually asked this question. It was addressed a little bit on Bussin' with the Boys during Jaylen Milroe's conversation with Taylor and the other guy. Can't remember his name right now. Holy smokes! But they were talking about this with Jaylen Milroe on that podcast, and I was actually at the gym doing round two. And hey, everybody, real quick, I see all your comments. What's up, Steve? I've seen you guys' comments on ties too, from what was it, Monday night, Ty?
Monday
And
night.
everybody was saying what's up, giving a lot of love. It's so cool, man. I really appreciate you guys for giving that love. It's nice to see you all. It's nice to be back. So I really appreciate that. And if I don't call you guys out by name, I apologize. I just kind of see it as it flows through the comments. So it's not me I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm sorry, but I do appreciate it a lot, 100%. So, but to get back to this comment, because this is a unique one. I think every coach brings their own vibe, right? I think Saban had something, you know,
Saban was making these nuts jokes to the players. Like, I genuinely think this is the most overblown. Adam, I love you. This is ridiculous.
I mean, it's different. Like, I mean, look at Saban. Like, you know, like you piss him off. How do they knew it was going to be a bad practice? He'd be like, before practice, he'd be like, "What? Kiss my ass." You know what I'm saying? Kiss my ass, which I think is hilarious. But if we go back into what you're saying, this new generation, hold on, timeout. So this new generation of entitled narcissistic, we cannot label everybody that way.
Yeah.
Number one, but you look at the way the University of Alabama's players, especially the guys who come here, like all you got to do is listen to interviews from each of the players, listen to interview from Damani Jackson, listen to interview Tyler Booker, listen to interview Jaylen Milroe, listen to interviews with Malachi Moore, listen to the interviews with the players who've now left to the NFL. It's not like that here. Don't get me wrong. Like there are people and there are players out there in this culture that we've bred in society, which we could go all day about some of the shit we've done to our youth that's made it difficult. And I just know that because when my last job, I had a lot of direct contact and seeing that 24/7. So there might be some issues there, but at the same time to say this relaxed, you know, how does it affect this new generation? Number one, let's not label them a generation. Let's not label everybody that way. That's not how it goes. We can't label just because we see a few players who are selfish. We see a few players. That's in everything, every part of life, right? There's always going to be some bad apples. Doesn't matter what you do. And then on the other factor here is this relaxed culture. Ty, you and me have talked about this. I don't think it's relaxed at all. I think DeBoer, like his style, he is a perfectionist just because he has a very laid back personality. You don't see him slamming headsets, which I love. I love the way Saban cusses out players. That's how I was coached growing up. It was funny. I mean, I had fun playing with it, but at the same time, right, 100% is like each coach goes about their own style, and DeBoer earns respect through humility, through kindness, demanding excellence, but does it in more of a father figure way of like, you get in trouble and you wreck the car and he's like, you get in the car and he doesn't really say much and you can just look at him and you can tell he's disappointed. Whereas if you got in the car with Saban, he'd be like, "You dumbass mother," you know. I feel like that would probably be the case, right? He would light you up for a minute, and that's just his style. Saban's dad was a hard ass. DeBoer grew up with only his mom. Something else to think about.
Yeah, Adam, if you're a teacher, then you should know better than anybody that there's no one way to do everything. If you don't adapt to the needs of your students, then we won't get into that conversation. But apparently, Jake, I am the participation trophy mindset to Adam, because this is, listen, I'm not trying to be rude, but this is ridiculous to me. listening to music at practice is now all of a sudden a problem with the narcissistic. If they're coming to Bama, Bama's already self-selecting a lot of the different guys out. He says, cut out the encouragement. Okay. This has got to be trolling at this point, man. I love you, Adam, but he's saying Jake exactly. Adam, I don't think that Jake gave the take you're thinking. He didn't agree.
I'm saying like there's different styles. Like the encouragement thing is good. I'm going to be honest. Every person is different, right? So you respond to different ways of teaching, right? And as you know, as a teacher, there's 3 styles of teaching. Okay. But also within those styles of teaching, there's how do you get to know each individual? DeBoer does a really good job of coming in, learning each individual, learning about their family, learning about where they're from. Some guys respond, and that's what you saw with Washington. And it had nothing to do with Washington last year of like encouragement culture of not being tough against Michigan. Are you kidding me? So you're going to tell me Dan Lanning, who coached a national championship defense, their teams aren't tough when they beat Oregon 3 times? You're going to tell me Sarkisian, who was a coach here at Alabama, who has like one of the top defensive lines in the nation, that team wasn't tough, who he beat twice? You know what I'm saying? Like there were games in a close game, doesn't matter who you're playing, within points, a short period of point or a small margin of points. Toughness comes down to being able to win those games no matter who it is, who you're playing against. That mental toughness is preached constantly. And if you listen to his interviews, that's actually something they pay really a lot of attention to. What is this player who we're recruiting? What's his mental toughness like? How is his physicality? But what's also his mental toughness, that discipline? Because when shit gets hard and it hits the wall, just like all of us in life, what are we going to do? Are we going to hang our heads and walk around and be bummed out? No. We need guys who are going to say, okay, it's hard. It's okay. Again, Jaylen Milroe is a perfect example of that. And that is being bred into each and every guy who steps on campus. They already have that, and is continuing to be fostered as they continue through the program at University of Alabama. He did the same thing at University of Washington. And he loses that game at Washington, not because of toughness. Look at what they did to Michigan in the second half. They should have won that game. Michael Penix missed 3 touchdowns. Those are game winners. That changes complete momentum. That had nothing to do with toughness.
And this
you know
is why,
so think
Jake,
about that
this
aspect.
doesn't make sense to me. Like, thinking he just coached in the national championship. He was at a Power 5 for 2 years. Went 11-2 and then 14-1, was in the national championship, beat the team that beat Alabama. And listen, if we want to talk old school, I was raised by a cowboy who did horse runs for the 4.6s. I was raised breaking horses. So we want to talk old school. I was raised as old school as they come. And it's still it still doesn't get, I still don't understand this, because we are assuming that there is only one correct way to do something. I can promise you there's 1,000 different ways to do something. When I had to get on a horse and start a horse for the first time, what I did for the horse before might not work for this horse, because it's a different horse.
Yeah.
And my dad was great at this. He understood, right? This is a guy that grew up on a dairy farm, grew up breaking horses. You can't argue. I have no idea what, Adam. I love you, man, but this is you can't argue correlation is causation.
Yeah. It's all good. Like everybody can disagree, and if you don't like the way, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't see it that way, just like you're saying, Ty. Like I have a different approach. But again, I had like 2 different coaches in college. My position coach left. So I've seen the whole realm of difference through sports and even with jobs, to be honest.
Here's a good one. Is Andy Reid one of the most successful coaches in the NFL right now?
Yeah.
Do you think that he does the same things the same way that Bill Belichick does?
Oh, definitely.
So
Not at all.
There are different ways to get to success. It is not a one-size-fits-all. Yeah. And I think that is where the fallacy lies, right? There are common values. Sure, Adam. the common values are we are pushing towards success. Just because you listen to music does not make that a deterrent of success.
Yeah.
Like that
100%.
just because I don't you just relied on results to that's typically what you do in debate, my man. You rely on results, which is data points to get your points. That's why I've been able to do this, my man. Like believe you me, Adam, I am well versed in debate.
Adam's always bringing in some interesting comments, but hey, man, it's always good too. Like, hey,
it's always good, but like
bring up some interesting topics for sure.
But in a way, Adam, you 100% are. You're saying it needs to be the old school approach. You have to criticize. You give examples. You are absolutely 1,000%, no doubts, arguing for a one size fits all. By fundamentally rejecting this, what DeBoer is doing is going to breed into the narcissist. You are fundamentally saying this is the way it has to be done, like what Nick Saban just did. That's how it has to be done. That's not true. And we can go through so many different coaches who do things differently. And you talked about I don't know that Saban's dad, from reading the books on him, would have been jumping around making D's nuts jokes. But Nick Saban was making D's nuts jokes. Do you know what made Nick Saban great, Adam? His ability to adapt. That's what made Nick Saban great, was his ability to adapt. And everyone has to adapt. And Kalen DeBoer has adapted to this new style of player. There's a reason why Nick Saban wanted him. There's a reason why Nick Saban stepped down, because he understood this is an entirely different type of kid. We need to adapt to this.
That's right, man. Adaptation, evolution.
Oh yeah. It's all love, Adam. It's just I don't, because you've had this debate with me before, and I just don't understand the connections, right? Like, the guy has been incredibly successful, and there's not this one size fits all. Kalen DeBoer doesn't need to come into Alabama and try and be Nick Saban. Kalen DeBoer needs to be Kalen DeBoer. He absolutely didn't refuse to adapt to this nonsense, Adam. If he refused to adapt, he'd be Dabo Swinney, who didn't take any players from the portal.
Thumbs up, Ty.
I know, targeted attack. But saying Nick Saban didn't adapt to this nonsense, that's facetious at the highest orders, my man. He adapted to the transfer portal. He adapted to NIL. He just went in front of Congress and stated there not only needs to be NIL, there needs to be revenue sharing. So Nick Saban is the king of adaptation. It's what made him so successful through and through. And now I have a nice view of Jantz.
Yeah, nice. What's up? Peace.
Nice view of Jantz right there. But Adam, absolutely, Nick Saban adapted. That's what made Nick Saban so great.
Yeah, I mean, he was really that's a good point. That was a big part. I think the key part too in adaptation and making sure you're staying on track is like being true to who you are to be successful. And so if you're not true to who you are and you try to adapt in like a way that's, I guess that's different to your philosophy, and you lose your philosophy, then you lose your foundation, and you don't want to lose your foundation. And I think everybody, again, it's all based on upbringing, what your experiences are in life and everything. That's your foundation, how it's created, right? And you can adapt and change, just like you can. I always give these what is it? These kind of like concepts or ideas around houses, right? A house's foundation might not change, but you can change the outlook and the way the house looks, right? So Ty, are you there? Are you frozen?
No, I'm here. I'm listening.
Oh, good. Dude, you were still there for a second. I was like, oh, did Ty freeze? You were frozen.
I'm not here if I stay completely still.
Dude, that was impressive, man. You're like a hunting leopard, man. It was crazy.
That's what I try and do, right? I try and do that. I try and be a leopard. I just think that there are multiple different ways to get the right answer.
Yeah.
right? Like it's not
100.
a one size fits all. And we see it in the NFL. The most successful coach right now is not Bill Belichick. It is Andy Reid. I forgot his name for a second. That's how little I watch the NFL.
Dude, you know what though was crazy though is if you don't, this happened to me yesterday. We were talking, like, I totally forgot like Coach Hitchler's name. And you had to remind me. I'm like, yeah, that safeties coach. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you have these mind blanks. It just is like, I hate when you just have those mind blanks. It's like the worst. It's like, okay, I got to either get some more caffeine or I got to go run in a circle real quick for a minute, or do a couple push-ups, or just slap the bejesus out of myself and wake up. Let's go. Or take some 1MR.
You know I love you, man. You know I love you. It's always fun to have the disagreements and stuff, but
yeah,
you know I love you, my man. But Jake, we talked about some of the transfer portal stuff yesterday. I wanted to get your take on what we started talking about today, which was recruiting, right? Like,
oh yeah.
Whenever we look at recruiting, I think I've seen so many different takes, right? And it really shows me I love Bama fans, but we're spoiled. Right? Like, let's be honest, we are spoiled.
Well, I mean, I'm a split guy, right? Like, because I'm, I have all this love for Washington Huskies, and there's a few other teams in there, to be honest, that I really do enjoy. But then I have all this love for Alabama. Just again, that connection I've talked about in the past of Washington, Alabama, especially with Saban. That's just full circle connections. Pretty
exactly.
sweet.
Exactly. We're gonna have to get a cigar. I'll be up in New York, Adam, this summer. We'll have to plan something out. We'll have to do a little cigar social, you and I, my man. Be a great time.
Yeah.
Be a great time. I'm gonna be up there. I'm gonna try and get Jance, Jake. I think I told you
this.
Oh,
nice. Yeah.
Right. Did I tell you this? That Jance and I are gonna try and go to the Saratoga Springs horse races in August.
Oh, sweet, man. And, yeah, that should be fun.
I'm going all out. I'm getting a cane. I'm getting one of those hats, right? I'm getting a loud suit. I'll probably be in there in some lime green suit with a cane, a cigar, walking. I'm gonna be a problem. They're gonna have to kick me out.
I like it, man. Yes, that's gonna be. You're gonna have a good time. When are you going up to New York? When is that?
So I have my cousin's is getting married in July, the end of July, and there's a big cookout July 27th, and so we're going to do that. And then
fun, man.
I'm probably going to go to Virginia, take the train from Richmond to New York City, chill in New York City for a day or two, like I always do, meet my cousin up there, and then take the train from New York City to Albany, and then go from Albany to Schaghticoke, which is where my grandmother lives, and then hop up there and chill. And then after I see my family, I'm probably going to drive up to Buffalo, where Jance is. Yeah. He wants to take my wife and I to Niagara Falls. And then I'll probably drive all of us from Buffalo to the horse races, man, in Saratoga.
That's going to be fun, man. That's the way to roll right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, it's going to be a good time.
I love trips like that, man. I love trips like that.
East Coast train infrastructure. It's an amazing thing.
True, dude. True fact. Man.
But I did want to get your take on this, right? Because I've had people comment on my channel, and I don't blame them. This is why I say, and I say it with a smile, we definitely should, Adam. Definitely should. I don't blame them. Whenever I hear people like, oh, I don't like how Alabama is recruiting right now, Nick Saban would have X amount of 5 stars. And I'm like, I hear you, because you just had 17 years of the GOAT, right? Yeah. So like, I understand why you were conditioned this way, but I am very impressed with how Kalen DeBoer has been recruiting, because when we just went through, and you were in the background, right? One of the beautiful things, ladies and gentlemen of the Undefeated, is I can see who's ever in the background watching, right? And StreamYard. So like if someone's waiting to come on, I can see them down there. So I know, Jake, you were in the background as I was going through the top 10 recruiting classes in the nation.
That's right.
1, Alabama has the least amount of recruits committed in the top 10. 2, there's nobody ahead of them that is facing the same thing Kalen DeBoer is, where he is in a brand new place no continuity outside of 2 position coaches. And don't get me wrong, support staff, is still there, right, among others. But when I mean I mean support staff that are still there. In terms of on-field coaches, there's 2. What's your thoughts about DeBoer's recruiting thus far?
Oh, I think it's good. I mean, I feel really positive about it, to be honest. And then I think here's the next part of it too, is like the coaches, everybody are getting it's like year one, not even a full year, right? Like I don't even know how many months it's been. 4 or 5 months, maybe. So I don't even think we're 6 months into it. And I think with him, what we run into and what we're seeing is like I think players they feel it. They feel that Alabama is still that school, but they also want to see it. And I don't think we're going to see like massive change in guys saying, oh, I'm going to go here, here, and here, especially maybe some of the big names that we're talking about. Some of these like, I would say top 50. I mean, we've seen some, but I think if you're looking for like that class, I think with Saban, he was established. He had done everything he had done from a standpoint of, I guess, overall years of showing his ability and creating what he created at University of Alabama. What DeBoer, his style and winning is a part of it. I also think the NIL plays a huge part of it now too, to be honest. I think when you're looking at these guys and some of their decisions are not necessarily based on who they're going to play for, as some of it is, sadly, maybe influential kind of pushes from family in a money aspect. I mean, money does make decisions. I mean, it affects all of our lives every day. So I think that's another big part of it. But I think where DeBoer's at right now is good. I think it's just going to take a minute to get established within Alabama and familiarity for the coaches and to get those relationships better, I guess, entrenched, right? And then once we get there, they'll be good. I don't see that being an issue, especially at the 2026-27 classes.
Yeah, I don't either. And I've said this before. Jermaine says we're just missing a quarterback. I really want Keelan Russell, man.
Yeah, me too.
Holy
man. I think that's the way to go.
And I like Juju Lewis, Jake. I do. But the more I watch of Keelan Russell, I'm like, this dude fits what DeBoer wants to do perfectly.
Oh, to the T, man. And he's just a winner. The guy's a winner. Like, and he has the right mental attitude. He has the character. He has all the intangibles that they want. Like, I mean, that's kind of like Brooks. Like we talked about Brooks yesterday, Latsier, right? The wide receiver. He's the same style, right? You don't hear, there's not a lot of chitter chatter or all this talk in your ear. He does his thing. And then once you really get a good look at him, you're like, oh, this is why he's like the perfect fit for them. This is why he could potentially be that kind of Ryan Williams type of guy that just flew under the radar because it's, he's just not getting as much notoriety. Again, he's more on the silent side, which is okay.
Yeah, you gotta hit those camps up. That's the interesting thing about recruiting, man. Like it fundamentally is, do you have the economic resources to go to these camps? And if the answer is no, you're a lot less likely, unless you are blessed to play on a team that gets a lot of notoriety, that your coaches are going to work for you. But if you're just at some Gainesville High School, which Gainesville's even sent kids to go play college football, but like Denzel was a 3-star. Denzel should not have been a 3-star.
Yeah.
Right? Like you've even talked about it. You were a 3-star. You should not have been a 3-star. And it's one of those things. It's like, I don't fault the recruiting services only because when you have to go through 10,000 kids that play high school football, inevitably you're going to have guys fall through the cracks because there's not 10,000 evaluators. What is there, 100? You know what I mean? And it's like,
seriously, man. And it's hard too. Like, you make a great point. Like, I look back on my time, you didn't have nearly as many camps as you have now. Now you have like camps galore. I mean, there's camps everywhere. There's people filming everywhere. That wasn't the case as much back then, right? Like, I can go to Florida State and and run a 4.48 and still be ranked a 3-star at 6'3", 215. I can have a 37-inch vertical and still be ranked. You know what I'm saying? Like, and just go under the radar, and it could also be bit against competition you're playing and all sorts of stuff. Now, stars in the end of the day, we all know, don't matter once you touch the field. Like, it's just a way everyone likes to rank stuff, and it's easier to kind of process things in your head when you rank things. But you're right. Like, the camp circuit's huge because a lot of guys you won't even get noticed. I look at, who's a great example of that, who flew way under the radar from back in my day, was Donald Butler. Donald Butler played middle linebacker at Washington. Great dude, one of the strongest and most athletic people I've ever seen, and he came out a year early as well. Ended up being a starting middle linebacker for San Diego Chargers and drafted very, very high. But Donald was only recruited by like 2 or 3 schools. You want to know why? Didn't really go to camps. Nobody really knew him. So if you don't have that luxury, because it's a luxury, that's what it is. It's a luxury.
Caitlin, by the way, we will be praying for your mom. Hopefully everything's good there. Chris Camp, you as well. I saw you said something. Here's an interesting comment as well. Jermaine Mim says, Tai, I find it interesting that Kirby is basically a carbon copy of Nick Saban in his recruiting style, and Bama is ranked ahead of them in recruiting. UGA are missing out on players they normally get. I think one thing right now is that whenever you look at the state of Georgia, Georgia's the worst kept secret in all of college football recruiting right now. You get what I mean? Like, it used to be the big 3 were Texas, Florida, Louisiana, and California. It depended, right, on the year.
Yeah, California. Yeah, California was back and forth. Yeah, 100%.
Some years California was like, okay, we got to have all of our staff camped out there, and then other years it was like, okay, if we don't even go to the West Coast this year, we're going to lose on some talented guys. But if we park in Texas, Louisiana, and Florida, fine.
Yeah. You know what happened, Ty? Real quick on that. You know what I think we saw a lot of high schools because, with California, what was interesting too is you started to see these like super high schools established, like these private charter style schools started to get established. And they started to get established nationwide, and they could pull kids and recruit them from anywhere, right? Such as like IMG. IMG is a great example. I think that's 2011 is when IMG starts up, right? And so that's a good example of like when we start to see this talent like disperse and spread out. But what's funny is you bring up is the fact that each one of them are from, like, a lot of these kids are from the same like state or area. You know what I'm saying? What you were saying with that? But yeah, get back to what you're saying, Tom. My bad.
No. By all means, man. By all means. I think that a part of it, Jermaine, is that one, Georgia recruits a little bit different anyways. I think that they're going to take off. It's just a matter of when, not if. But 2, I think that the state of Georgia is now the worst kept secret in all of college football recruiting. Like, if you're not parked in Georgia now, and it's been that way for a few years now, right? It's been that way. But at this point, we talk about Georgia the same way we talk about Louisiana, the same way we talk about Texas, Florida, where it's just, hey, if you're not there, you should probably be firing your people in charge of recruiting because there's no reason not to be there. Adam, you're right. I mean, modern day Bosco, Centennial, Cheese. You have some schools out there that whole Trinity League. Like, if you just recruit the Trinity League, you're going to get 4 or 5-star guys.
Yeah, that's it. It's a whole nother level, like beasts, man. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
It's a super league out there. And then on the East Coast, you have your Catholic League in Washington, D.C., which Caleb Williams came from. There's a reason why Caleb Williams, coming out of high school as a sophomore, he was nationally known because he led Gonzaga to a championship in the Catholic League in the D.C. Baltimore League as a sophomore. And if you do that as a young quarterback, everybody in high school football recruiting will know your name because it's that competitive. Adam, you're 1,000% right. IMG, incredible program. Now, if you come down to Texas, Adam, I will say this, man. There is not a lot of positive thoughts about IMG, right? Not a lot of positive thoughts. Jermaine, you're 100% right. Saban been eating off of Georgia and Louisiana kids for decades. Decades.
Man. Louisiana was like his baby. You're like, I mean, dude, you're a Louisiana kid. Saban came to your house. I mean, you think about that though, like that. I mean, it helps so much that he had already won a national championship for LSU.
Yeah, he was
like
known.
Parents, people loved him in Louisiana. I mean, how could you not? You know, and Louisiana, dude, LSU's a badass school. I'm gonna be honest with you, like those are. I remember I was looking at through letters and stuff and communications with schools, and I remember considering Louisiana. But again, this is Saban had left. It was a different time frame then. But Louisiana, I liked Louisiana. I thought LSU was cool.
Well, yeah, Jermaine, we actually, I don't know if you were here whenever I first got on with Kyle, but I talked about Syracuse and how Syracuse is benefiting from Fran Brown being there, who is a fantastic recruiter.
100.
Jermaine, help me out. Who was the guy who was with A&M? He was with Georgia, and then he went to Colorado. And now he's at Syracuse. Help me out, Jermaine. I think he's coaching the defensive front. Bishop Gorman is very, 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 very good, Adam. Very good.
I got a good story with Bishop Gorman.
Bishop Gorman's very good. Who is this I'm thinking about? I want to say Coach Edwards, but that doesn't seem right to me. I know that he was so highly thought of whenever he made the move from A&M to Georgia or Georgia to A&M, 2 or 3 players followed him. Like they instantly asked out, and they were like, "No, let's follow him." Syracuse has assembled a real solid staff up there. You guys know
Syracuse has, man. I'm impressed.
Very. I got family from upstate New York. It kills me being a football
Nick
guy.
Williams.
Nick Williams. Thank you so much.
Dude.
That's a young name to know. That's a young name to know. Nick Williams.
Yeah.
You know why I was thinking Edwards? Because he recruited King Joseph Edwards or King something Edwards, and I covered him in recruiting, and I was like, yo, they just got a good one.
Yeah,
they just got a good one.
That's the truth. And Jimmy brings up there's a couple comments about the state of Alabama players. Hey man, I think right now the state of Alabama, and it has been, I think it's also been probably a really well kept secret. And Caitlin, thank you for the super chat. I see you in there. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Appreciate
Caitlin.
you, man.
1999.
Yeah, well, thank you. But this is a good question. After living in Alabama, and I'll tell you guys this is I think it just flies. It's one of those states that is consistently, besides Alabama football and Auburn football, the rivalry that what? I'm talking about the rivalry there. The Iron Bowl. I should say the Iron Bowl. Sorry, everybody. I meant Iron Bowl. But I think it's
where Alabama plays Alabama, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's correct. That's 100%. From a history state, that's truly how it is. But
I'm just
I know. No, that was a good one. I hope that riles people up a little bit. They wakes them up. They're just like, holy shit, did you hear that? But no, man, I'll tell you this is I really think 2 days was good, right? That helped Alabama, but then there was a lot of drama because of 2 days. I'll tell you, like 2 days because of the drama that happened with the coach did not help out. But I really think Alabama is one of those places, even as a state in whole, like just living there, it's one of those kind of treasures that people don't realize how good it is and the good things that I love the state of Alabama. Living there was Man, you know how much I enjoyed it? The people, the places I would go. Like, I loved going into Hoover, man. I loved going to Trustful and watching like Friday night football for Hewitt Trustful, right? Like that is I would walk there because grandparents were right down the road, and uncle, and it's just like you go in these different areas of Alabama. What phenomenal, phenomenal. I mean, Birmingham, what they're doing with Birmingham, they have this like it's just revamped Birmingham right now, and I think it's really cool what they're doing. There's a lot of unique, cool new things going in. It, I just think it's a well kept secret, but I don't think it's going to be that way for long. I just think like after Florida's gotten blown up and overtaken, and all the movement and everybody moving and doing this, I think Alabama's going to pop out. But that same thing goes for their athletes, though. I think Alabama had a good treasure trove for so long. Now people are coming in and seeing that and kind of picking from it.
Rocket says, FYI, if you remember the TV show Friday Night Lights, they're going to reboot it soon. Crazy story about Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, dude.
So do you remember in the movie the tight end, whoever the tight end was, he was the guy that I think the dad came in and the fullback or tight end taped the football and was like, well, it was loosely.
Yes.
I don't know how much of that actually happened, right? But
I mean, I could see. Trust me, I could. I mean, dude, my dad taped up my. I broke my wrist in sixth grade, and we were in this like big playoff game. Dude, he ripped apart a thigh pad. Okay, put it over my wrist and took duct tape, and just so it was up to here, right? So my wrist wouldn't move because I played running back at that time. Threw me back in the game. And that's just how I played the rest of the game. It worked out. Scored a few here and there. It was good.
Well, my moot court partner, her uncle, was the tight end that actually played for Odessa Permian.
Really?
And was one of the characters in the movie.
Wow,
Not
dude.
the actor, but the actual person who played football for the team. She when she found out that I was college football obsessed like I was, she was like, "You probably know about my uncle then." And I was like, "Well, who's your uncle?" She was like, "You ever seen Friday Night Lights?" I was like, "Yeah. Once or 10 times, a few."
Yeah, I love, man. Yeah, good stuff, dude.
Yeah. Now she's up in New York doing something for econ, but she was brilliant. So funny how all that goes, right? But the state of Texas is crazy with its football. But also, Jimmy, I think Merrill answered your question beautifully. I also think it's just a proportionality thing, right? Where it's like, we talk about Texas a lot, we talk about Florida a lot, but look at the population of the state. So proportionally speaking, you're going to have more top 300 guys. Like I know that last year, well, not last year, now it was the class of 2023. In the class of 2023, it was something crazy, Merrill. It was like 110 of the top 300 prospects in the nation came from Texas or Florida.
That's wild, man.
It was just ridiculous.
Again, I think it's also easy to see from like a recruiting or even like a ranking standpoint. Like if you go, you're really focused on those populations, and if you don't get to camps, and if your name's not floating hard, that in these other states that maybe, I will say Alabama is definitely, and not saying it hasn't been, but it's definitely getting its notice now.
It's a top 5.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just one of those states where people they're from recruiting and paying attention to recruits and who's there and ranking. It's getting the respect it's always deserved. But I also think though it is easier from a recruiting standpoint to go to these major areas, right? Where you're seeing them maybe again premier high schools and go rank these guys and see a whole bunch of different players in one general area. I think that there's something probably there. You know what I mean? As far as hitting those populations, you're spot on.
I'm going to see if I can't find like the facilities and stuff. Because Duncanville, you talk about the facilities here out in Texas, and you're 100% right, man. I mean, how many times do we look up and Under Armour, Nike,
I know.
Adidas, they're all running camps in North Texas or in Houston, like the Woodlands.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Plano, McKinney, Frisco.
Yeah, Plano.
That's
McKinney.
money.
Yeah, dude.
Frisco has
100%.
got I'm not gonna lie. The only place I've ever seen just like more money was LA when we stayed for our honeymoon. Now, granted, we stayed in like for a honeymoon, obviously, in like the Beverly Hills area, but like that's cool. The only place I've ever been where I was like, there's more money. And not, obviously places in New York, no doubt about it, New York City, but just like in terms of a regular place that's not just like Plano and Frisco have so much money and you can see it in the facilities. Driving out, there's a road, Merrill, that goes from where I'm at. Yeah. And if you take it east, you get to McKinney and then you can go to all those different places. When I was young, we used to take horses to a vet out in McKinney. Okay. And so we'd load up the horse trailer, 8-horse trailer, and then, or 6-horse trailer at the time, and then take them out there. There was nothing but a field. Nothing but a field. Now, from the time you exit I-35 and get on University and start heading from Denton to McKinney, there's no field. It is businesses, houses, from here to there because so like my wife, she teaches in Denton ISD. It's one of the 3 fastest growing districts in the United States.
Dude, crazy.
They have opened up a 6A school every single year.
Man, that's wild, man. I mean, but it just, there's some major, I mean, it's just such major shift. I mean, and it did that housing market just from the West Coast now to the East, right? From the North to the South, it shifted so much. And that's where you saw like just the money rolled with it, baby. Woo! And it's crazy. It's crazy to think about, man. Like, yeah, it's wild. What's up?
Now, Adam, this is where 100% the old school mentality needs to come in, right? 1,000%, right? If one of your students and she didn't show up and you gave her a C, I think you were kind in giving her a C, right? Like, I think you were very kind in giving her a C. That's where an old school mentality is like the way to go. 1,000%, no doubt about it. Then, like,
100, man. 100.
Have the fury of all that is holy. Have Odin's fury and Odin. What is Anchorman said? Odin's raven.
Odin's ravens. You know what I was thinking about, Ty? Another thing too, and I thought this would be a good thing if we started breaking these down.
Let's do it.
I saw a few comments, and we could start doing maybe the position group. And you guys in Undefeated in the chat, let us know. But of what we lost in transfer portal, because everyone's talked about all the gains everyone's gotten, but man, it'd be interesting to really break down the full transfer portal of what we lost. I saw people really interested to hear like how does it affect us. Now, I personally think there's only a few, I would say maybe 3-4 names maybe that are heavily or that impact us, but I don't think as nearly as much as what we would think. But that would be an interesting thing in the next, I don't know, maybe tomorrow or next day or next day. I just thought it'd be interesting because I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself,
let's start it now.
Man, oh, dude, well, let's jump in. Let's jump in.
I'll show you while you're.
What do you want to do?
Yeah, you listen. Dealer's choice. Your idea. Man.
Dealer's choice, baby.
I'm just going to show you while you're figuring out what position group. I'm going to show y'all.
Yeah, guys.
This is a picture of a high school. Whenever they first built it, I went and played soccer there. Right. That's Trophy Club.
Dude, that's a university. It's not a high school.
And this is their athletic. Let me see if I can find it again. This is their athletic facility and their practice field.
Oh my God. You're so crazy, man.
They got That's 2 practice. Wild. Look at this. There's 1, 2, 3 practice fields for the high school.
I don't even think Kayla DeBoer had that, at South Dakota.
Like, it is remarkable the money in North Texas and Houston too, but it is, Jake, it's one of those things where I had some cousins come down from New York, right?
Yeah.
And they got here thinking that, oh, this is going to be the desert, right? Like it's the old Westerns. They were looking around and they were like, what is this place? And I was like, brothers, welcome to North Texas. It is the concrete jungle. Like it is
so crazy, man.
Massive now. It's ridiculous. And that's just Trophy Club. Now, for anybody wondering, the Byron Nelson PGA tournament is right down the street from that high school. That's where this is places where the Dallas Cowboys, if they have kids, they're probably going to Trophy Club.
Dude, so nuts.
Jake, when I went to go visit one of my buddies who went to high school in Flower Mound. Now, I went to high school in Gainesville. That was like a lower income area. I went to go visit my buddy at Marcus, and there were people, high school kids, driving up in Porsches, G-Wagons, like you name it. That is a high school.
Bro, I had a Nissan NX. I barely fit in it. A Nissan NX. Y'all look up a little tiny Nissan NX. That's crazy as hell, man.
That's Trophy Club High School right down the street from me, Adam. Like, that's what I mean when I say, like...
Dude, that's wild. Wild.
It makes no sense.
It doesn't, man. But hey, you know what? Okay, so these schools, you got a bunch of money. I hope you're also investing in, like, the education of these kids. I hope you're investing in your teachers. That's the part that drives me crazy, man.
My wife is about to have to take a pay cut in 2025 because they didn't invest anymore in education, and it's growing so fast that they're not. That's a story for a different day. That's one of the things that absolutely drives me up a wall, is because Texas has this Texas exceptionalism, and that's great. Like, I love that. But let's be the best in everything, darn it. Like, let's be the number one in education, number one in healthcare, number one in infrastructure. Let's be the best. Let's be the best.
Like, let's make like teaching and doctors, first respond people who like are doing all these things. Let's make those like our highest paying jobs. If you got that money, I mean, that's kind of, you know what I'm saying? Because they impact the future, impact how we all retire, the impact we get old, someone has to take care of us. But
no, she gets paid very well. Don't get me wrong.
That's good.
Like, for her district, it is much higher than the national average, but they are talking about, like, we're not going to be able to hire new teachers because we don't have it in the budget. But they just built like 3 new stadiums in this area, and it's just like,
come on,
okay,
man.
Guys. Okay.
Yeah, it's like the freaking NCAA and the damn contract, $1 billion contract, you know? Which we shoot. Did you? Hey, real quick, and Tai. Oh man, okay, you probably get this one, Tai. I see, because you live there. You know what's up on this comment.
Oh yeah, no, okay. I thought you had old rock guy. I live in a house that I'm blessed, right? I was able to save up money from selling horses to buy a house when I went to college. So I have this house. I pay more in property tax for my house than my mom, who lives in Virginia in a winery, right? She lives in a gated community in a winery. They got a golf course. Her house is 3 to 4 times larger than mine, and I pay double her property tax.
Dude, that's crazy.
We don't have income tax, though. So, it is one of those things where it's like a roundabout.
Yeah.
But property taxes here are ridiculous. But like I said, it all equals out, right? Like, we don't have an income tax. So now, but what position group are we starting with, Jake?
Yeah, no, I know. I'm sorry. I tend to jump off topic a lot, guys, so I apologize. But I saw the House versus NCAA case and I was going to speak to this, with like each university getting $22 million annually to athletes. And to me, I think that would solve so many problems. I mean, I do.
There's 5 cases right now that are going to absolutely just shape the future. And here's the thing, Jake. I don't think any of them are going to see the inside of a courtroom. I don't think not one of them.
No, really?
I think they're all going to settle.
Dude. Gosh, man.
Because, I mean, you think about it, man. If you're the NCAA, Jake, let's say you're the NCAA and I'm suing you, and and Adam, I do agree with you. Now, Adam and I have talked about this at length for months now, and I do agree with Adam. Justice Kavanaugh was too broad. That's not what they were there to talk about. And I'm referring to Alston, NCAA versus Alston, Jake. They were there to talk about something very specific. And Justice Kavanaugh just ripped the Band-Aid off and said, let's talk about you as a whole, NCAA. And it's like, hey, you're not, I mean, you're a Supreme Court justice. I can't tell you what to do. But you're really not supposed to go that broad. You're supposed to talk about what you're there to talk about.
100.
He pulled the curtain back and said, your entire structure, is suspect. Like, everything is suspect. That accelerated all of this. Now, here's where I'm not mad at Kavanaugh. We were barreling towards this, right? He just accelerated it. And I do agree, Adam, he was too broad. He was a little too broad. But I also agree, this is where I've always walked the line on this, because I used to just like 1,000% agree with him, but it was because of my like disdain for the NCAA. And Adam actually walked me back through talking to Adam about this. And he was like, I think he was too broad. And then when I sat down and thought about it, I was like, you know what? He kind of was. Like, I think he was right, but like, you accelerated a problem so rapidly that the NCAA, who can't fix
dude,
they can't tie
it takes years. It takes you. Well, and it's like, I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know why that's the case. Is it just because you put a bunch of old dudes in there? It takes forever. I don't know.
I have no idea.
But I do feel like it would fix if they finally were able to figure that out, man. It would. It would just help get to like more of a starting point, at least, of saying, okay, we have this base number. Everybody gets this. It's on fairgrounds. Now you can negotiate with your team and the guys you want accordingly. I think that's cool, because then you don't have schools like Oregon who have Nike funding their collective and everything else. I saw like people talking about, and I know this because I was recruited by Oregon, dude. And Adam, I saw your comment about the 90 that playing in front of people. You don't even think about that as a player, real quick. Adam asked, "What's it like to play in front of 90,000 people?" As a player, that doesn't even cross your mind. And plus, I'm deaf in my left ear, like 100% deaf in my left ear. So guess what, guys? I actually can't hear anything in those stadiums and with a helmet on. So I rely completely 100% on the signs from the plays. I had to know the plays inside and out. And on top of that, it was watching people, watching the players. I had to study film like a madman and look for tendencies in people's body language. Yeah, and the way people moved and did things. So yeah, I didn't even bother. I didn't think about it. I don't think a lot of other guys focused on it either. And yeah, I did. I'll tell you what, being deaf, like right now, for example, right? My left ear, I can't hear. So I have this in and I can't hear what I'm saying. I can hear it inside. So I can't hear my tone of voice. Sometimes I can't hear how loud it gets, but this is a great example that in a stadium, I can hear Tai, obviously, but in a stadium, like everything around me, I can only, it's just one giant pot of noise. Right. So I have to focus and watch everything, my vision, everything. I mean, it's crucial. Pay attention to a lot more detail. But what was I saying, Ty? What was I getting out of that before I said that?
Oh, we're just having story time right now. We're just having story time.
I know, man.
We were talking about the NCAA, though, and I was telling you, like, if you're the NCAA and I'm suing you, you have the ability to pay billions of dollars if we go to court, because the judicial system has already basically told you we're not ruling with you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, no, we're not ruling with you. Or you can settle out of court and still pay, you know, $1 billion or something, but it's much different to paying $1 billion than billions, right? Like the difference between 1 billion and 2 billion is $1 billion. So
$1 billion. Still a lot of money, guys.
Y'all like my math there?
Know? Yeah, that's good.
I could get us to Mars. I could get us there.
Yeah, man. That was, dude. Well, shoot, man. Facts on facts, baby. Facts on facts. But
so what position group are we checking out, Jake?
Yeah, well, let's just start. We'll start on the offensive side. We didn't lose any QBs, right? So Portal didn't see any QB loss. Oh, thank you. Shit, Ty. This is why we get on together, man. Okay, Julian saying we can look at it now, and Ty, what's your take on this from a loss standpoint to compared to our room of what we have, right?
It's a loss. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I think it's like the biggest loss? No, I don't. It's a loss, though, because I think Julian Sayin is a real talented guy. I thought he was one of those guys that simultaneously possessed a pretty high floor and a pretty high ceiling, right? To where it's like, okay, just as a standard guy coming out of high school, you're pretty developed right now, but you can still go further. Now, the only reason why I don't lose any sleep over it is because do I think that he was going to start over Ty Simpson? He may have made it a competition, but I think Ty would have gotten the job because Ty is a mobile quarterback. That's the thing people forget. Ty's got wheels.
He does. He can move, man.
He
feels the pocket really well.
Yes. And Ty's, I said this the other day, Jake, and I'm glad you're here, but Ty's biggest issue was just understanding as a 5-star guy when to let the play develop. Because coming out of high school, I don't know if you've ever seen his high school film. He'd have been lucky if he had me blocking for him. It was bad.
Dang, dude.
It was bad, Jake. He had zero help on the offensive line. I mean, he would say hut, and it was like that Stewie Griffin, and nobody's blocking. I mean, he had to spin around, do like a 720, juke people out, and then throw it down the field. He had to almost get out of that mentality, right? Where he was like, okay, I can now sit behind my offensive line and I don't have to make the play. I can let the play develop. And if nothing happens, then I can make the play. But I don't have to make the play. And Nick Saban spoke about this for a little bit. Nick Saban at one point, I believe he said, hey, you know, Ty is super high ceiling, but he can't be erratic. And I think that's what Saban was referring to is it's just like, hey, you don't have to be the guy who makes it happen. I know that's what, but now you got 4 or 5 stars blocking for you. Let them do their job. And when you do yours, it's all going to come together. But that's an easy-ish fix. You know what I mean? Like that's, if that's the biggest thing we have to work on, oh man, I'm going to take that 10 times out of 10 as opposed to being like, okay, I have to rebuild your mechanics. I have to redo. You don't have to do any of that with Ty Simpson. And so I don't know that Sayin was going to beat him out. Then you have Dylan Lonergan, who is very, very talented. But you supplement Julian Sayin with Austin Mack. Bama has such a talented quarterback room that it's a loss that I think people can kind of forget about.
I will. That's huge. That's spot on with that. Yeah. Okay. From the news and from what we've heard, you know, Sayin's definitely putting up a competition. Patriot life. What up, dog? What up?
You're hanging out with yourself?
Hanging out with the best, baby. He's hanging out with us, Ty. He's hanging out with us. I
thought he was hanging out with himself because he is the best.
Oh man. No, drop the mic. Peace out. All right. I love it, man. That was a good one, dude. That was good. I saw Walt Albright, man. I haven't seen Walt in here for a minute. Man, there's a lot of guys. Ephraim, see some dudes. Jimmy, Todd. What up, dog? Hacker music. Brian Russell. What's up, dude? Jermaine. Hey, Jermaine, I just saw your comment too. We'll get to that. Rocket Town, man. I've seen some people in here, man. I haven't seen them in it. Sweet Home Bama. I just got to give a quick couple of shout outs. Randall Green, what up, dude? What up, Randall? There's so many people I haven't shout out for so long. I haven't seen, Adam, you fill up these comments, bro, like no other.
Every
tell you
time I
that?
do
Like your comments are like an essay.
well, every time I do a show and Adam is in here, I get so much more excited because I'm like, I know I'm going to have pushback or something, and we can get great discourse. Like,
Yeah.
because Adam's gonna respond. Now, luckily, the undefeated as a whole are going to respond. We have great viewers.
Yeah, man.
And I can't tell y'all how much I appreciate that. And Adam, even you already know, man,
Yeah, I
disagreement
would
is
love it.
healthy.
It
Disagreement is
is.
healthy. If you can't
It is, dude.
if you can't respectfully disagree, which listen, that's half the problem in this darn country right now. But that's not here nor there. That's not here nor there. We're here to talk football. We're here to talk football.
That's right. It's football time. Everybody, get serious. Nah, but nah, man. But seriously, we appreciate you guys coming in here. I mean, I love interacting with you guys. It's a lot of fun. Me and Ty obviously have a blast doing this with you guys. So, Jimmy Parker, what up, dog? But yeah, like getting back to it, I think like Ty Simpson's going to be a stud. I think the conversation he obviously had with DeBoer, Sheridan, around his future, because I do think that was something that was probably in the talks, at least from what I've heard, is that I think he had a really positive conversation. Obviously, this is Jaylen's last year, and I think we're about to see a Heisman worthy performance by Jaylen Milroe. I'm going to tell you guys right now that my money would be on him to win the Heisman. I just think we're going to see it. And I think there's other guys who are going to put up that fight. You know, I think, you know, obviously Carson Beck at Georgia is going to want to put up that fight. You know, Quinn Ewers at Texas is going to want to put up that fight. Jackson Dart potentially is going to want to put up that fight at Ole Miss. Dylan Gabriel over at Oregon, right, is going to want to put up that fight for. I mean, there's a lot of names in there that you could sit there and be like, yeah, there's a lot of guys who are going to want to go after. I just think Jaylen Milroe, though, man, Randall Green, what up, dude? I think Jaylen Milroe has that mindset, though. Anthony Harris, what up, dog? But he does. He's so like locked in, especially after here. I'm going to tell you what, man. I've watched that now a couple of times, that Bussin' with the Boys with Booker and Jaylen Milroe interview. And I know, okay, it's a little older, but oh man, it was phenomenal to hear his like. There's your Texas boy, you know, representing, you know, T-Town, right? Like from both Texas and Tuscaloosa. But I'll tell you what, his interview was phenomenal. Like that guy, listen to that dude's mindset. He didn't give a rat's ass if he got benched because he knew he needed to work harder. He knew he needed to communicate. He knew what he needed to do, right? Jaylen Milroe, though, I think that's just his, like, he promises his parents he's going to go to Alabama. He's going to get his degree there. And he follows through that promise. He promised he's going to get his master's. He's following through that promise. I think this guy is so locked in and so ready. And now he has the coach of coaches with Sheridan and DeBoer, who are Penix's mentors. Remember, they developed Penix. Go watch tape on Penix in high school. He had a great arm. Yeah, he was a good player. I'm not going to say he wasn't good, but you know who is the one that steals him and helps develop him the most? You know who it is? It's Nick Sheridan, everybody, who is now the coach of Jaylen Milroe. That's where you get this Penix, the beauty of everybody's talking about, right? So pretty legit Patriot life. Always throwing it down. Always throwing it down, man. Always giving.
Always.
Appreciate that, man.
Thank you for the gifted 5 Bama football on YouTube with Kyle Henderson. Memberships, Patriot Life. At this point, we need to have like a little thing whenever you donate. We need to hit an alarm. We'll have confetti fly up in my studio, confetti fly up in Jake's studio. Music will start playing, and we'll have like a little interpretive dance thing. I can't dance, but you know,
we'll do something. I try. I can't.
I don't even know if I do that.
235. I can't move like that. Terrible. But yeah, so I think Milroe. I'm a huge Milroe fan, man. After hearing that, obviously I was before. Just I know that mindset. He's just like for what he went through. I mean, I watched him. I was at the USF game, so I watched him. You know what I'm saying? Like
USF's a good team too.
Dude, well, their coach is a stud.
That veer and shoot is tough. That's a tough offense. I'm so happy we play USF early because that's great preparation for these young guys to be able to get acclimated because Heupel runs it with Tennessee. And if Nico is the quarterback, I think he could be Nicholas Iamaleava. Holy cow. Darn it, Apple.
Oh, shit.
Stop it.
Shit, Ty. How come I got an Apple? Mine doesn't give a thumbs up. Well, I'm not even going to try because I don't want to.
You know what? I probably need to update it because I did call Apple a while ago.
They said?
And I asked them, and I was like, so what's the deal with this? And they were like, you know what? This one right here is an hour bad. You are not the first person that has told us we're having these issues.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. And we are trying to fix it. They said that it's not on every Apple device, but they said like there are certain Apple devices that are just freezing when they're live streaming. And they were like, yeah, and when they explained it to me, I got it because some of those I know got to keep those hands down. I talk with my hands. I'm gonna sit on my hands.
Oh, Ty froze. No.
I froze.
No, Ty. You did freeze for a second, but you're back now. Oh, we're back. We're good. We're good, Ty.
Yeah.
You're all good. Yeah, you're looking smooth.
Can't hold me down.
That's right, baby. Just whirlwind. And I'll tell you guys, hold on. There's a debate right now saying like Milroe doesn't run a 4.4. Guess what, guys? He runs a 4.4. I'll tell you guys that right now. He's a sub 4.5 runner.
I think he's like
I ran a 4.48. Trust me, I know. He's fast.
He's very fast. I'd be interested whenever he goes to the combine what he's going to run there.
Yeah, dude. Right? Me too. I'm excited to watch that. Woo!
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Now, we've talked about quarterback. Do we want to go to offensive line, tight end, or do we want to do wide receiver, tight end?
Let's do for next position group. You said we could touch on running back real quick because we lost Roydell.
Who
was it?
You know what? Yeah. I think because today we started this segment a bit later. Let's do running back because then tomorrow we can go wide receiver, tight end, and offensive line.
Yes. All right. I like that.
So Roydell, talk to me about Roydell.
Man, see, so here's an interesting thing with that running back room. I think it's tough because I do think Roydell brought a style of game that was pretty consistent. We saw it with the season. We saw the way he played. But at the same time, I think the Haynes, right? With Haynes, with Miller, and with remind me of who's the
Jason
other one?
McCullough.
No. Returning. Young.
Oh, okay, Young. Okay. I thought you were
with the combo. The combo of what we have right now, right? So I think with the combo of what we have right now, with those three, you have this like three-headed monster that's really dangerous, really, really dangerous. And I think it's just a matter of who, each game, right? Maybe someone's tendencies are better suited for the defense they're playing and the type of, the way, the style the defense is playing that day, or just who just goes off, right? So, but I mean, with Roydell being gone, I just didn't see it. I don't see it as a loss. I think it gives these guys the chance to really get in and get after. Don't get me wrong. I think he would have done great. But once again, truthfully, it's a loss to him. I don't think Bama loses out on anything on the running back room at all. Period.
I'm gonna miss Jace. And Jace is because Jace, we didn't get to see a full season of Jace healthy. Jace was, I thought, an unbelievable leader for this team, Jake, because he was 100. One of those guys that would get banged up. He had a Jones fracture, I think, or something. Well, I shouldn't say. I think he hurt his foot pretty bad. And for whatever reason, I thought I read it was a Jones fracture, but don't quote me on that. But he, regardless, right, whatever it was, he was injured, and he was the type of guy that you would have to take him out of the game because he would wave everybody off and say, no, if my brothers are out here battling, I'm out here battling, whether I'm 100% healthy or not. That to me was one of the things that made Jace such an unbelievable one. He's so talented. Like we've seen Jace when he's healthy. Remember that it was a Jones fracture, Todd? Thank you. I thought it was, but as soon as I said it, I was like, oh, I should not have said that because I don't like speculating about injuries.
I know. That's a tough one. Yeah.
Right. I should, and even
it's
if I
all
was
good.
right, I shouldn't have said it. I should not have said
all
that.
Good.
But I thought it was
an injury.
publicized. Yeah, he was injured. He was injured.
It was an injury.
I apologize for even, whatever. But we've seen him healthy. Y'all remember his freshman year, Arkansas, where he got that, what was it, a 72-yard run, and he just got into the open field and was streaking down the field against Texas, against Michigan. Like, we know what he can do. And he's such a veteran. I thought, Jake, that there's a real principled argument, in my opinion. He was one of the steals of the draft, was Jace McClellan.
Dude, I do too. I think he's good, man. I mean, did he have another year of eligibility?
I don't know, but I am such a Jace fan because I watched Jace in high school.
Yeah.
And he and JoJo Earl, Jake, were on the same team, and it looked like an and one mixtape. You remember those one mixtapes?
Oh, dude, I had a guy I played with. Dude, you remember shoot, man. Small dude, played for Boston Celtics.
Oh my gosh.
Shoot, there's a 3-point lights out. Not Nate Robinson. It's another guy from Washington. Who?
He's more recent than that.
Yeah. Played for the Washington Huskies.
He played for Cleveland.
He played for New York Knicks too. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
But yeah, played for Boston Celtics. Dude, I played against him in high school. And he went to Curtis High School here up in Washington State. Isaiah Thomas. Thanks, Randall.
That's it.
Woo, woo.
That's it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Isaiah, dude, would shoot threes from like between half court and a 3-point line and sink them. You couldn't guard him, but he was one of those guys, and he was on like N1 a little bit back when he was young. I mean, he was good, dude. He's a freaking baller.
Yeah, Jace and JoJo at Alito, they would single-handedly make defenses look dumb. Like, it was unbelievable watching them play at Alito. So Jace, I think Jace did have an extra season, but I think he's the steal of the draft. Like, because I think Jace is one of the few running backs that any system in the NFL he can walk right into. Right? Like, I think any system in the NFL he can walk right into and be successful. He's got so much fluidity to his game. He's good out the backfield, even though we didn't utilize him like that very much. But Jace to me is someone I'm going to miss, not only because of his talent, but because of his leadership, because of his tenacity. I think he embodies everything. It's almost like Trey Sanders, man. Like Trey Sanders had those injuries and only ever had a smile on his face and said, no, I will battle back. I will be undeniable. And like that type of mentality, I'm going to miss it. That being said,
dude,
am I worried about Alabama's running back room? Absolutely not. Between Justice Haynes, Jam Miller, Richard Young, Daniel Hill, and then Kevin Riley.
I know, man. Which Kevin doesn't. I think Daniel and Kevin. I know, dude. Kevin's like between Daniel and Kevin are a good lightning and thunder combo. Because if you see Daniel's size, Daniel's just a beast, bro. He's huge, big dude coming out of high school. But then you look at Kevin. Man, Kevin's just so quick, man. CSL, what up, dog? What up, dude? Smoot. So yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like that's the thing with Kevin is I think he has like you just watch his fluidity through the field. He's really smooth.
He reminds me actually a lot of Jace, where it's just like there's not one area of his game that's lacking.
Yeah,
he is super versatile. He can do everything for you. Ironically, it's that same type of thing. Like Bama gets these type of running backs, Jake, where it's just like, what do you want to do in your offense? I can do it. right? Are we more of a man blocking scheme or a zone blocking scheme? I'll be successful in either. That doesn't matter. Do you need me out the backfield? Cool. I'll be a receiving back out the backfield. Do you need me to be an every down back? Cool. Like I got you on that. Like it's just really interesting. But I love what you just said. Pairing Daniel Hill and Kevin Riley. Holy hell. That is an unbelievable duo, man. Like that's lightning and thunder.
Seriously, man. Like I think those two, and granted, hey, this one of the beautiful things about Alabama, and hopefully like recruits and people pay attention, is at Alabama you earn your stripes, right? No matter who the coach is, no matter what's going on and the change of philosophy, you're always going to earn your stripes, especially in today's age with Alabama being so being the standard, and will continue that under DeBoer. I mean, I'm telling you guys, man, just this dude's not losing, not losing. Man, I can't even. Well, that's for another day because we could go off topic on that for a lot. But I'll tell you, like, if you can come here, especially in the running back room with Gillespie, and even in the quarterback room, because you've seen what they did with Penix. Look where Penix went, and he went there for a reason to Atlanta. No matter what anyone thinks of that pick, I think it's a genius pick by Atlanta. I really do. I do not think Kirk Cousins, from a money standpoint, they did not want to sit there and sit on Kirk Cousins for so long. Kirk, great dude, but I think what they did with the Atlanta Falcons picking Penix was smart. I really do, no matter how much crap everyone wants to give him. But that's a developed guy from the coaching staff now at Alabama. Okay. And I think guys see that in Alabama, waiting your turn and working your way through and learning and taking that time. That's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. There's a few guys out there who can step up and just play right away. They earn that spot right away. I mean, Caleb Downs is one of them, dude. Like he's a phenomenal player. Like no one's going to take that away, man.
This is I love this right here, right? Because I don't disagree with you. I don't mind Atlanta drafting Penix. I don't dislike the pick because of Penix. I dislike the pick because why in the world did you pay that much for Kirk Cousins then?
Seriously though, man, that's a weird. That was a weird.
My Vikings could have had Penix.
Him. Yeah, well, I think that was the plan. Instead of JJ McCarthy.
Do you realize what the Vikings could have done?
Oh yeah.
Let me riddle this to you, and then we'll get back on to Minnesota. Could have been in a position where, let's say, they use that pick for JJ McCarthy to trade and get more second round capital, right?
Yeah.
You then use your next pick in the first round to get Dallas Turner. Love that pick, right? Loved that pick. But we also needed a cornerback. So in the second round of the NFL draft, now granted, hindsight's 2020, and you don't know that Kool-Aid's going to fall into the second round. But let's say everything happened. You have a bunch of second round capital. Use some of those picks to trade up to get Kool-Aid in the second. So basically, you got your 2 first-round picks just like you got this year. Instead, it's Dallas Turner, Kool-Aid. And then for a quarterback, get Spencer Rattler in the second round.
Dude.
Now, if we're talking a draft where your first 2 rounds are Dallas Turner, Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Spencer Rattler, holy cow. But I just, man, I am not sold on the JJ McCarthy pick, and I'm a Vikings fan. I saw that, and you should have seen me texting Jance. I was texting him unhinged. Just like every 45 seconds, he was getting another message, and they were riddled with spelling errors. Just,
I don't know. I don't understand the excitement around JJ McCarthy. Plus, he's weird. He's just a weird dude, He's kind of like what's his name? Will Levis. He's a weird dude too.
He's not.
I mean,
bad.
At least he has a cannon though.
He's not bad, but it's like, brother, you didn't throw. I think I looked at this. Jake, 7 of his games, he didn't hit 200 yards.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Like they just, granted, I get it was a scheme, but when he did have to throw, he made the throws he needed to make. I just don't think he was is prominent as what they were making him. I just feel like there's other options,
Whenever the best thing you can say about him, and this isn't a bad thing, but how when they'd break down Caleb Williams, they'd be like, oh, electric athlete, cannon for an arm, elusive, moves the pocket, right? Cool.
Yeah.
Then you get to Penix, Jaden Daniels, a lot of those same Jaden Daniels, super accurate on deep passes. Penix, same thing. And then you get to JJ McCarthy. He's a winner. Period. And I'm just like,
hold on. Yeah, can't do that with a quarterback. You can't just be like, oh, he's a winner. No, you have to have some mechanics and some things that go right for you. You know what I'm saying? You can't just rely on your running backs all day. It's all good, but I don't know. It's a weird one. We could go into the draft stuff in depth. Maybe we do a lot more of that too tomorrow.
Yeah, we might do that tomorrow. So, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow, what we're going to bring to you, because we are now looking at what Alabama lost relative to what they gained.
Yeah.
We're going to go over offensive line, tight end, wide receiver tomorrow. As a quick recap, we went over quarterback and running back today. I count whenever we're talking about this, I think typically we're meaning in terms of transfer portal, people that left. As opposed to even people that went to the draft, because that's, you expect those losses. That's so we talked about Jace today, but that was one where he went to the draft. You expect him to go get paid. You expect him to succeed in the NFL. And I can't wait to watch him succeed in the NFL. Quarterback, we lost Julian Sayin, replaced him with Austin Mack. And both Jake and I were talking about, you got 4 quarterbacks in this room. Julian Sayin's a great prospect. I'm not losing sleep over that. No offense to Julian Sayin or his camp. I think y'all are going to be ballers.
No, I think he's good.
You got so many quarterbacks in this camp. I'm not worried, right? Like,
nah, I'm going to be straight. I like Austin Mack more. I think his upside is way. I do. I just think from a size standpoint, his ability to move.
He really only had 2 years of high school football quarterbacking.
That's what and he started for like what? Did he start for 1? I think he started for 1.
I think he started for 2 his sophomore and junior year, because his freshman year they tried to put him at tight end and then he moved. Or did he just start his junior year?
Dude, I think he just started his junior year.
Was it he just started his? That could be it, but
I know he's at Folsom.
Yeah, his freshman year they tried to put him at tight end. And he ended up transferring high schools because he's like, I'm not playing tight end. I'm a quarterback. Doesn't matter if I'm 9'35". I'm a quarterback.
Dude.
And so, beast, super high upside. Jake, as we're getting out of here, where can all the people find you?
Yeah, guys, I think what we're going to do, I'm telling you what, is I think, obviously I got to get back on the Twitter. I think in the meantime, you can obviously just hit me up in the chat and whatnot, and I'll try to get some stuff. You could always hit me up on email too if you guys want to chat. Or you guys got stuff where I'm always looking for opportunity. All of us are. So Coach_Merrill, MERRILL, just like spelled here, Jake Merrill, but Coach_Merrill at Outlook.com. Hit me up, send me an email for now, and then I'll get back on the Twitter. I had some issues with Twitter, man. Which sucked too, because I had it's cool. I was finally getting a fun following. I think I finally got over 1,000 followers, which is kind of fun. Social media and me, man, it's all good. It's different, but I'll get back into Twitter and I'll let you guys know when that's out there, and I'll throw it up, and maybe I'll get on Instagram. I don't know, but in the meantime, I'm on here with Ty in the mornings, and I'll be on this evening with Coach Sean. Can't wait to wrap it with him. I got to see Coach Sean on Monday evening. Remember, Ty, when we did our thing? Yeah. Guys, if you guys haven't seen that video, go check it out. There's some really good content. I've rewatched the video because of all the good stuff everyone said. I've watched it a few times. It's pretty freaking
legit. Was a really good panel.
Hayes Fawcett. You guys don't know Hayes. If you don't know Hayes, you're not following college football, because Hayes is the man when it comes to recruiting insight, transfer portal insight, and just what he has in his back pocket information wise. And then you obviously have Nino, or Nick Battle, but Nino's Corner, right? And then Around the Table Sports, with Tai. Woo, woo. This way. There we go.
Yeah,
right there.
I do the same thing all the time.
I do. It's so weird, I know. But man, I mean, follow those guys. And it was a really good Monday evening at Around the Table Sports. We're all on there on the panel. We had a great discussion. It was good, man.
Yeah, that's that. And Monday evening shows are back, ladies and gentlemen, every Monday, 5 p.m. And Jake, I already told you, I told Coach Sean, and I didn't have to tell Jance because Jance has been doing it with me since 2021. That's how Jance and I got to know each other. He was the first guest I ever had on my show. We did the show together. And then after that, I was like, oh, you got an open invitation. And we've podcasted together just about every Monday since.
Dude.
The day before Nick Saban retired, Jance and I were on a podcast together. And it's just, that's how we got to be close, man. And it's been a great time. So Mondays are back.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Ty, I forgot something. We got to make sure you and me shout this out too. Coach Sean has a channel.
Yes.
Coach Sean has a channel, everybody. And it's going to be legit. It's getting started. Ty, take it away on Coach Sean's channel, because you helped him with this, correct?
Yeah, I have been I've been anything Coach Sean needs. He already knows. I've always told him I'm a phone call away. Coach Sean on YouTube is Coach SPH, and you need to go check out his channel. Unbelievable content. I learned so much from that guy, and I think that you would really, really enjoy being over there. Enjoy his content, enjoy his takes. And, it's one of those things where his platform helps every platform. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. YouTube's big. Next Monday, in terms of topics, Jake, we are going to be talking, and I know it's way too early. We'll reinforce this again on Friday. On Monday, we are going to be one of the main topics I'm super curious about. What's the most competitive conference going into 2024? I don't mean the best. I don't mean the conference with the best teams. I mean, which conference is most likely to cannibalize itself? If you say SEC, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But the new Big 12, I think, is going to be really exciting, because you don't have these two Goliaths mixed in with all of the no offense, but the mid-tier teams, right? And I'm not trying to be a jerk, but they don't have Texas or Oklahoma's budget.
No. That's true.
Now you have a conference that is completely equitable in terms of their brand capital in the Big 12. And I think it's going to be an incredible conference to watch. I'm so excited about the Big 12. I think that we're going to talk Big 12. We're going to talk SEC. We're going to talk ACC. We're going to talk Big 10. We're going to dive into all that. Unpack all of that, and it's going to be a great time. But that is just one topic. And ladies and gentlemen, on my show, it's one of those things where we might only have one topic. If that conversation lasts an hour and a half, it lasts an hour and a half. That's the point of the show.
Dude, I'm excited, Ty. I think that's I can't wait to give you guys that take. But you're going to have to wait till Monday for mine. Sorry, guys. We'll have to wait till watching it Around the Table Sports. Because I'll tell you, that's going to be a fun panel. We're going to have that's going to be some deep conversation, everybody. Deep.
That and teams most likely to win their conference. Way too early.
Man,
we're gonna double that down. You do not want to miss that. Now, granted, we'll be back here tomorrow in the morning.
Oh, hell yeah. Yes,
we'll be back here Friday in the morning.
Uh-huh.
We'll be back here Monday in the morning. So you get to see us a lot before that Monday evening show, but I just want to go ahead and give y'all something you're going to like this word, satiate your appetite, right?
Man, I'm going to have to look it up.
Every now and then I can use superfluous syntax.
Oh, dude, that is a great word. That's a great word. I like that. That's phenomenal. Satiate. Right? Yeah, forgive me. I'm deaf, so if it comes out wrong, I got a little bit of a speech impediment. Apologize,
you
everybody.
said it 1,000% right.
Oh, good. Perfect, man. Yeah, that was a problem when I was a kid. And also, Also, one other thing to you, and then Ty, we got to finish off real quick before we end today. We told everyone we tell the crocodile hunter story.
Oh, yeah.
But real quick, down here, you guys can see it down in the corner. Thumbs up, everybody, please. We really appreciate it. It helps us out a lot. Throw it out there, throw the comments out there, run the thumbs up, post it. Tell them to come watch me and Ty. We have a good time in the mornings here at Bama Football on YouTube. And run those thumbs up.
That's right, man. So before we get out of here, I did say I'd tell the crocodile hunter story. So I, as a child, was like enamored by the crocodile hunter. I actually was bit by a snake, Jake, because I thought I was the crocodile hunter. I was like 5 years old, and in Texas we have these big Texas rat snakes. They're not poisonous. They're really docile.
Dude, they're big black ones.
Yeah,
or brown.
Real docile.
They're huge.
Yeah. So I see one and I go to pick it up, and I grab it by the tail and I pick it up. Well, this thing is about 6.5 feet long. Right. And I'm 4 or 5 years old. It whips around and it doesn't necessarily bite me. Yeah. It's almost like the snake knew you're a child and I don't have to bite you. It just like booped me in the nose. Just like wow.
In the nose.
Yeah. Hit me right in the nose. Yeah. I fell on my butt. The snake slithers away. My mom's on the phone with the vet. And she's like, oh, my son just got bit in the face by a snake. And the vet's like, oh, do you need to go get that? And she's like, no, he'll learn. It's just a rat snake. Like, he'll learn his lesson.
At least your mom knew,
Well, me being an idiot, I get on my belly and I start crawling after the thing, right? So fast forward.
Oh, shit,
a few years. Yeah. Nothing's changed. And one of the things we had at the ranch, because I've told y'all before, my dad, before he passed, had trained horses for the 4.6s, for all these
ranch,
big ranches. Yeah.
4.6s is legendary ranch. You guys have to know that. If you don't know, check it out. It's legit.
He went on chuck wagons at the 4.6s, like cattle drives out there.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, like one of the last cowboys, right? Like real old school cowboys. And he'd gone to 31 foreign countries before he'd passed, helping them establish the horse industry. And the stories he had,
so impressive.
Stories he had were incredible. Like the stories he had of being in Israel or Mexico or South Africa, where he was, South Africa, in Italy, right? Apparently he got pulled over in a Ferrari with one of the guys out there going like 135 on the highway. Dude opens the glove box and tells my dad, give this to the officer. And my dad hands this manila folder to the officer, and the guy in the Ferrari looks and he says, a donation to the police department. The police officer opens it up, looks, and then walks back to the car, and then they just right out of there.
Wow.
Just wild stuff. But one of the things we did is we'd have people from all over the world come and live on the ranch and learn the horse industry from my dad. He would teach them horse training, all of that, and then they'd go back to their country and implement what they'd learned. We had people from the Czech Republic, Turkey, Australia, Brazil, Mexico, France, Germany, Denmark. I mean, you name it, we had him, right? Well, we had a guy from Australia. His name was Jason. And Jason, I mean, was awesome. But Jason knew Steve Irwin because there was a time where Jason worked at Steve Irwin's facility. So Jason finds out that I am obsessed with the crocodile hunter. Now, Jason taught me how to track. Like he would teach me and my dad how to track when it would snow or when it would get rainy.
Yeah.
We'd go into the back into the woods and he would teach us like, okay, this is this. He taught us what rocks we could use for what, all this cool stuff, right?
That's legit, man.
He gave me a boomerang, and then we had another friend who made boomerangs. So I had a bunch of boomerangs. I got good with those where I could get them to return.
Dude, legit.
Right? That's how I started bow hunting. Like,
nice. Yeah, bow hunting.
All of that.
Dude. That was me when I was a kid, man.
Well, Jason figured out that I was a big fan of the crocodile hunter. So a few weeks later, a package arrives on our doorstep. Well, I say on our doorstep at the end of the driveway, and I have to go down there and get it. And I bring it back, and I notice it's got all these crazy like shipping stickers on it. I open it up, and it's a poster signed by Steve Irwin 2 or 3 shirts from his gift shop. One
Dude,
of
that's
them
cool.
signed by Steve Irwin. I had a Crocodile Hunter toy where if you hit the back of it, it'd go, boy, crikey, and an alligator. I had a Crocodile Hunter bobblehead signed by Steve Irwin because he made a call to his mom, and his mom was actually very familiar with the Irwin family. And the mom told them, hey, Jason is out in Texas. There's a child out there who lives on the ranch. It is obsessed with you. He owns 4 or 5 of your VHS tapes, and I would watch them all the time. And so I got a little care package from the Crocodile Hunter, and it was some signed stuff. And so I'm not going to lie to y'all. I'm not afraid to admit it. I cried when he died.
Dude, I mean, seriously, though, man. Like seriously, like it's such a bummer. And I hate to say it, man. He died by a damn stingray.
Yeah, that was not on my bingo card.
No, man. I thought a crocodile would eat him or something.
A cobra,
yeah, dude.
Something.
Like, yeah. But I mean, like, shout out to his kids doing their thing now. Like, for sure. Like, his son looks just like him, right?
And
like,
Mindy, the daughter.
Yeah, she's great. His wife's always been great. When I was a kid, I watched it all the time too. I was tuned in. You know what? It's funny because Netflix got like a new show called like Wild Croc Territory or something. Have you seen it?
Mm-mm.
The dude from Australia who goes and takes care of like problem crocodiles on farms. Man, yeah, dude. Go if you like Crocodile Hunter, you love that show, man. Because that dude. They're out there doing some crazy stuff too, man. I mean, he's not Steve Irwin. He's just dressed in jeans and a button-down flannel. He's cowboyed up. But I'll tell you, because he owns a ranch out there, right? A bunch of business, I think. But man, one of his main things is he goes out there. It's called Wild Croc Territory, I think, on Netflix. And he goes out there and takes care of nuisance crocs and rehomes them and stuff. Dude, it's legit. I mean, it's crazy too. You think like crocs are like so territorial. Alligators don't really want to mess with you unless it's like breeding season, So,
but I got pictures, y'all, of me before I could walk. I was on the back of a horse.
Dude, that's a lifestyle right there, man. Like I learned some cool stuff in Montana. My grandpa taught me like so many different skill sets from like bow hunting, from shooting. My great grandpa had like one of the biggest cattle ranches in Washington before it all got bought up.
I'm telling you, if I'm still out here in Texas, we got to, if you make a venture down here, we do spot and stalking with the bow. We do hog hunting, but we're not up in a blind. We're on the ground with bows. And you're just walking through the woods. And you might round a tree and there's a bunch of hogs. And you got to know which one to go after, because if you go after the wrong one, they might come at you. So it's fun, though. It's a lot of fun.
Dude, I would love to do that, man. Let's shoot, Ty. Come down there and podcast it up for a day, a week, 2 weeks. I don't know.
Let me see if I can't.
Like I said, whoever wants to help with our podcast, we're going to do it. No, I'm just kidding. Well, maybe. Who knows? If someone's willing to help, for sure. We need a team. Right? We need the finances. But hey,
look at this. Look at little Ty.
Oh, dude, that's cool as hell, man.
Look at little Ty. I'm telling y'all, before I could walk.
Is that your mama?
Yep, that's my mom. I was on the back of a horse.
Man, that's cool.
Like,
man, that's the country way, baby. The country way. I love that, man. Love that.
It was wild. It was wild.
My baby picture. I don't think I have it with me. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll share it sometime. But I was an ugly ass baby, so I don't know. But
me too. That's why they had the horse in the picture.
But dude, my baby picture is in Seahawks gear, holding a football. That was my first word. That was the first thing I ever did was throw and catch a football. Man, my dad was like all about it. But he's a hell of a linebacker though too. So,
my dad was a boxer. So what we did is
baby. I see. That's the skill set, man. You and me talked about that, like training, like Muay Thai, right? We were talking about that off air.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man. Like, I used to do it from a standpoint of like training to be like a good DB. right? From a standpoint of hand quickness and your jam, and then flipping your hips with Muay Thai, and the same thing with Jiu-Jitsu. But man, I'll tell you, like, you get out there, you get to throw some hands up. That was the benefit of having a little brother too. Me and him, dude. My brother's cool as hell, man. But like, did I ever tell you the story of football? Me starting to play football. Have I ever told that story? Oh shit, that's the story we'll go with tomorrow. Then remind me of the story how I started playing football. It's hilarious, super funny, including my little brother. Like actually playing like organized football in youth when I first started. It's a good story. You guys will laugh, man. We'll do that one tomorrow. That'll be a funny one. But
listen, with this panel, not only do you get football takes, but you get story time.
Story time, baby.
What more do you want?
That's a good way to end the day, the morning.
What's the line? Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? So I love it, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, is it nap time now? Well, it's time for you to meet the most esteemed member of the panel. Mm-hmm. I try and be like him. I cannot.
That's right.
He tries to be like Jake. He has succeeded. And it is time for the spinning wheel of doom. Until next time, Jake and I will see y'all tomorrow. Jake will see you this evening with Coach Sean, 7 o'clock.
That's right.
7 o'clock, right?
7 p.m. Central Time. That is correct. And make sure you run those thumbs up. Run those thumbs up.
7 p.m. Central Time. Be right back here for Coach Sean, for Coach Jake, and then tomorrow, be back here for all of the great segments. Until next time, roll tide as always, and introducing the spinning wheel of doom. And it's
Roll Tide.